Right. I mean, like, if considering it's not on Instagram, because I figured like you guys probably like pull a good amount of people on Instagram, but they'll have to migrate over to YouTube, and they might be watching, but they might not have accounts and shit. You know.
Right.
I did a live stream with other people. That ended at like 4 a.m.
On Instagram?
No, on YouTube.
On YouTube?
And, yeah, and I got like 2 hours of sleep.
Oh my god!
So I feel like you guys are getting the sloppy seconds. I'm sorry.
It's okay. Well, you look good. I would never would have known.
Stop it.
Never would have known.
Okay, I see that it's up now.
You're seeing it on.
Wait.
Yeah.
Actually.
Oh, there it is. Oops, I refreshed it. Okay.
I'm not sure if you can like trim out like because I guess this is just like troubleshooting a little bit to just to make sure, but I'm sure you could like trim out this whole like beginning part, right? You would think.
No, we're just going to run.
Okay. We got 2 people. I'm assuming one of them is me.
Yeah. Let's get rid of this.
Wait a minute. So you have this up on your Vampire Robots YouTube?
Yes.
All right.
If you go to one of the groups, there should be a link to the channel there.
All right, I got my YouTube app open on my iMac. Trying to find you.
Yeah, where do I find this?
Well, I'm subscribed to him, so it just popped up in my feed. But...
You can always search my first and last name there.
Okay, because yeah, searching Vampire Robots does not help.
Yeah.
It's under my name. It's just the VR logo.
Oh, there you are.
Yeah.
There we are. Well, I have now 2 watching. It's my mom and David Dopko.
Oh, boy.
Oh, very cool.
Subscribed. Wait.
I'm going to go ahead and throw the link in a few places.
I'm just signing into my YouTube. Oops. Wrong password. There we go. There we are. Whoa, there's 2 Bellottis. Whoa, I'm seeing double, 4 Crusties.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, the good old days. All right, cool. All right, I'm all set up here. 5 watching. Ooh,
I'm one of them.
Yeah, it's probably all of us and
yeah, and Nick's mom.
Nick's mom
and my mom probably.
You wouldn't know what to do with this.
My own mother. Like, Michael never watched my YouTube stuff. So
wait, are you guys watching from StreamYard or are you watching from YouTube?
StreamYard. I'm watching StreamYard.
Well, I'm looking at StreamYard, but I have YouTube open as well, just in case like the chat goes off. But
yes, that's all right.
It's amazing how much different I look from this angle. It's like a Godzilla suit. It's like I look like the '84 Godzilla. I'm just like different in like every angle.
The Cybot.
Yeah, I'm like the Cybot. Like I just look how this looks nothing like me. You would never think this is Bellotti from this perspective. Hey, how you doing? I'm from Staten Island. Hey, go fuck yourself. Much better.
I'm just throwing the link everywhere, guys.
All right.
If you're wondering what I'm doing.
Nick is silently whacking off.
Very silently. That's how you get away with doing it in public.
You do look like an Al Qaeda video. We will kill the American descendants.
The overhead light, it's like I'm super shadowed and the background's all bright.
No, but you got the beard and the Castro hat on.
Yeah.
I just wanted to play baseball and they would not let me, so now I'm a communist.
You look like Ben Kingsley in Iron Man 3.
Awesome. I can go with that. Best thing about that movie.
Let's see. We got 6 watchers. It's probably still all us.
You guys know who Tekkaman Blade is?
What?
Tekkaman. No, I have this on my desk. I play with them as I talk. So if you see my head,
Anime.
Nick has anime on. We have Sailor Moon on.
Nick doesn't watch anime.
Oh, this is 90s anime.
I've seen a handful of animes, and I'm good with what I've seen.
Like Ninja Scroll?
No,
No, not even.
no.
Fist of the North Star.
I've seen like maybe 5 different anime series. That's about it. One of them being what was it? The Evangelion thing. Once that hit Netflix, finally watched that, and I was like, oh God, why?
You were all over it. No. I was in the 90s.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think
I was
I
a teenager.
on that. I think if you were like 12 and saw that for the first time, it's like the coolest thing ever.
You have to be in that mindset to like really enjoy that show, I think. You have to be severely depressed or something, or
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah. I mean, like, I'm a negative person, but I wouldn't say I'm depressed.
No, I would never say you're depressed. You're just very, very, very pessimistic.
There you go. How'd you put it, Mike? Frustratingly pessimistic or something like that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I said it with love.
Oh, no. It's like the most accurate
Yeah.
description.
I didn't judge you, but
No, I didn't take it as judgment.
It is. Nick, you remember that conversation we had in our live stream? I was like, hey, what do you think of this? Meh. How about this? Meh. What about that? Meh.
But I don't know. It's just something like I was very gray about it.
It was
you thought
Tom.
great.
It was Tom Whalen. We were talking about Tom Whalen.
Ah, yes.
I was like, his colors are good. Meh. He's got
Meh.
good compositions. Meh. Meh. And then I said, Nick, you're really good looking. You went, meh.
yeah,
So it was just like fucking endless with you.
a lot of stuff is mad with me.
I didn't even tell him he's handsome. He's just like,
Yeah.
Like not.
Meh. Nick, I'm really attracted to you. Meh. Meh.
It's the whole time zone thing. It'll never work.
You're a Jersey boy at heart. You'd come back home for me. I know you would.
Maybe. I do miss the 4 seasons.
Just listen to some Frankie Valli. You'll get it. Sorry. He's a Jersey boy. There you go. See? Do you like the way I worked that in there?
Yeah, it was nice. It was nice.
Thanks.
Yeah, there's David. David is joining.
Yep. Yay, we have an actual viewer.
Yeah. What's up,
We're
David?
the only viewer right now beyond us watching the show. So
How do you see David? I want to see him on the YouTube. Where do you see him?
Yeah, he's in the chat on the side.
yeah, on the chat. To your right.
Oh, I says I have to use. I'm using an older version of the browser. I have to update it, so I can't see shit.
Fuck's sake.
Oh, way to go, John.
So if anyone talks shit, just let me know.
We just won't tell you.
Yeah, just don't tell me.
I miss you too, David. It's been a while. It's been a minute.
Thanks again for recommending StreamYard, David. Appreciate it. Appreciate you. So YouTube, hooray.
Here we are. 4 of the sexiest motherfuckers to ever come into the Godzilla fandom. Together we unite to make one giant sexy motherfucker. Here we go. I'll be the head. You guys figure out the rest.
I'll be the left leg.
You be the left leg.
Yeah.
Nick, you could be an ankle.
Cool. That'd be an ankle and the right forearm.
The white form. Yeah.
So I get like northern and southern hemispheres.
There you go. So we're live, right? This is official?
We are on, yeah.
All right.
And
So-
David is already heckling us.
Is he really?
He is. That's fair. That's fair. We do it to him.
That's true.
And so those things. So this time it's James. I don't know who that is. I assume it's Hartman or
James
Han-
Hartman.
Is it Hartman?
Yeah, probably.
Oh wow.
Heart Manimal.
Yeah, he named himself something that's not a burning Godzilla. That's
True.
Yeah.
It's very true.
Oh, it's James Hannon. I'm sorry, James.
Oh,
Hannon.
James Hannon. Jersey's own James Hannon.
New Jersey's own James Hannon.
Jersey sounds like a Q104 DJ. New Jersey's own James Hannon.
Yeah.
Thanks, David. My beard was creeping out some of these people before, but I'm glad you're liking it.
It didn't creep me out. I was just like, what? At what point does it get uncomfortable?
As long as you don't wash it and don't maintain it, then it gets uncomfortable. But if you wash and maintain, it's just fine.
All right.
Excuse me. So want to get some topics going, Michael Tchaikovsky of the vampirerobots.com?
So, we'll start with current events, I guess. Like, the latest news is
everything is terrible.
Everything is still a disaster.
Terrible.
Apparently the leader of North Korea, Kim Jong-un, may or may not be dead. So there's conflicting reports about this over in Asia. Japan saying he's dead, South Korea saying he's dead, Taiwan saying he ain't. I just say it's relevant to us because we're never going to get a Pulgasari sequel now.
That's
he's dead.
Real tragic.
But what do you guys think about that? Like, what do you think? How much worse or better is it going to get if he's dead?
Well, the guy could have honestly been dead for the last year now, but none of us would really know.
Wouldn't know. Yeah.
It's a good point.
But his sister might be taking over, and I heard she's just as mysterious as he is.
I've heard she's actually worse. She's more diabolical.
Yeah. So it sounds like more of the same, pretty much, in North Korea.
Yeah. More destabilization for Asia.
Yeah,
so
pretty much.
Yeah. The other big news was we got a bunch of new X Plus figures announced and some new Bandai Premium stuff announced for new Godzilla stuff, which is all exciting because Japan announced they're not shipping anything outside of the country.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Time window on that, or is it indefinite?
Indefinite. They're until further notice, basically. So,
yeah, it's going to be a while.
Yeah,
it's going to be a long time.
I would guess when they do something like that, it's at least 60 to 90 days. So
yeah.
So yeah, that'll be exciting. Trying to get stuff out of Diamond when they open up again. So I'm sure they weren't anticipating that.
Oh, speaking of Diamond? What's the latest with? I heard comics are going to be shipping out again. Have you heard about that?
Yeah. So it's funny. I got an email yesterday from Diamond, and they're these very severe emails. They come with a header of like, from the desk of the Geppy crime family. And it's all about it doesn't really affect me because I don't order really anything DC anymore. Yeah. But they're essentially the language is confusing, but it's them essentially saying like orders have to be in Monday. Like usually comic shops have to have all their orders in not only 60 days in advance, but by like usually the 26th or the 27th of the month.
Right.
And they're saying that anything DC is probably going to be allocated because DC Comics is now kind of circumventing the Diamond and selling their stuff through two different distributors for comic shops that are open. One of them is Midtown Comics in New York,
right?
Who, as I understand, like they're one of the biggest comic buyers in terms of just like buying from all the publishers on the East Coast, if not the country. And so they, would more or less, if anybody has the infrastructure to kind of stick it to Diamond during this and try to find another path, it would apparently be these guys. Again, I don't really do, aside from the Zorno cover I did a few years ago where I've still got a few hundred of those in the warehouse. And I occasionally pick up back issues that go in the eBay store. I don't really do comics. So the only way this could affect me is if they just hit Diamond's bottom line so bad with this that they put Diamond out of business. Which I'm kind of worried about that. Like I know I get like why a lot of comic shops would want like a competitor, and Diamond certainly has a monopoly on everything. And I've seen them do terrible things, and I've just heard just really stories like, wow, that's like a breathtaking level of incompetence that went down there. Like, I'm sorry that happened to you. I've never had anything where I'm just like, you know what, I want to terminate my account or work with somebody else.
Right.
Like they're my longest standing business relationship. So it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out. I know a lot of shops aren't even able to open yet. Like comic shops. Governor Wolf here in PA, he laid out like his own plan for the state to kind of open up in tiers, and the Philadelphia region is like one of the worst affected in the state right now. And hey, Martinez, we're going to be like the last region in the state to open up. So like a lot of the shops aren't going to be able to take product,
Right.
Until at least June. And that's if there's if the infection rates keep decreasing. So
have they decreased in your area at all, or are they just sort of flattening a little bit?
They I think it's been flattening. I haven't looked at updated numbers. It's one of those things where I kind of tune it out.
Right.
So, it just kind of breezes by me. But it's still pretty bad.
Yeah.
Still, like I haven't traveled further than my warehouse in about a month. So
yeah.
But how are things in New York right now?
I don't know what today's updates are, but I heard hospitalizations have been down a little bit, and I heard the death level has sort of leveled off, but it's not down. That's the thing. It's just flattening. And they're finding that the descent is much, much slower than the ascension of this thing. So our lockdown is until May 15th. I got a feeling it's going to be until the end of May into June at this point.
Right.
We're still the worst region hit in the country.
Right.
So we're going to be like the last state to open, I think.
Yeah. It's King kind of called it right in the stand. Like Lower Manhattan was sort of primed.
Yeah. Pretty much.
What about you, Alex? How are things in Chicagoland?
I don't know, man. I feel like it's kind of the same. We're getting hit kind of hard. I think they said something like a couple thousand new cases within like the last like 24 hours were reported. Like they updated it to that. Yeah, man. I don't know. It's kind of depressing to honestly, like, I'm trying to, like, I don't want to keep my head in the sand with all this shit, but like at the same time, I'm kind of like, I don't know, like taking a step back from all of that.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing I heard is that the cases are still going up in the country. They're not going down.
Yeah.
Right.
It's just the death level that's sort of stabilizing at the moment. But I mean, even if it's like they say, oh, the death level is flattening, that's still 500 people that are dead.
Right.
It's still a horrible way to go about things. There's a horrible way to celebrate, I should say.
Yeah.
How about you, Nick? How are things in the Bay Area?
I think we're like not too far behind from you, John, in like cases and severity. Like I was telling Mike before, I'm not really keeping up to date on this. I used to be like, oh, here's a new news bulletin, but everything that comes out is just like ridiculous. So maybe like once a week, get some info from somewhere.
Right.
But I know California and New York were like neck and neck for severity. So I think we're stabilized more at this point. Like you were saying, like we're flatlining, nothing's really going down. But I mean, just like with you, I don't think it's going to be, this self-quarantine is going to be lifted until end of May, early June. Like it's going to be a while, and people think it's going to be wrapped up in 2 more weeks. But it's not.
No, and it's not going to just like disappear in the summer.
Right.
Like a lot of people think like, oh, it's like the flu, but it's not the flu. It's something totally different.
Right. As David's pointing out in the chat, the dates are arbitrary. It's just they throw it up there as like, it's an easily movable goalpost.
Yeah.
Yes. It's one of those things of like, if you're going through something bad, it's like, don't worry, you only got like 10 more seconds to this left, and then that 10 seconds is up, and it's like you got another 10, and then another 10. It's just small doses. If they said we don't know when, there'd be panic and chaos.
Well, you know what it's like. I don't know if, like, we've had renovations done in our apartments like twice, and they would always say in 2 weeks it'll be done, and then like 3 months later it's done. It's like whenever you ask your contractor when is it going to be finished, like another week or so.
2 weeks.
2 weeks. That's from the money pit too. 2 weeks. It's 2 weeks.
Yeah. 6 months later.
6 months later.
Water or stairs. So
I'm just like I'm not sure like what like they expect to happen within that time, you know, because like they're saying over here it's like, oh yeah, like we'll probably open stuff up like, you know, by like May and stuff, and it's like, how do you figure that, you know, like what's gonna happen here? Like I don't know, man.
Second wave is what happens.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, no, aren't they saying that like it's supposed to like by the time like I think September or October rolls out, like it's gonna get worse?
Yeah. Or it'll be just something just as bad. Dose of this. I mean, I think we were talking about it the other day on Instagram. Like China opened back up, and like the factory regions opened back up, and just, you know, numbers immediately started going back up again.
Really?
Yeah. And I was talking to a customer, like a new customer. He wants to pre-order stuff off my website, and he's really into the Figma stuff. And like, there's like the Starship Troopers Figma, the Easter Island, the Moai figure that they're doing for the Table Museum. And he wanted to pre-order them, and I was just like, look, I don't know the dates on those things. Like these are like, yeah, I would say any date I have on my website right now, like give it 60 days after at least. And he was just like, yeah, okay. I was like, China's starting to open back up. He's just like, yeah, he's like, I wouldn't count on that. He's like, they're finding new cases like almost immediately. So
yeah. And they've been trying to keep it quiet, I noticed too.
Right. Yeah. So yeah, it's all gonna be a crapshoot for a while. So
yeah.
It's funny, for those that don't know, Bellotti and I are also in the film business. And he and I kind of trade articles back and forth. There's all these kind of think pieces that people keep putting out. I throw them up on my personal Facebook and stuff that are just like who the hell wrote this? Like, you know, it's like I feel like one of my film teachers in college that like never worked on a set a day in their life wrote this article for Variety. Like,
yeah,
you know, they're like, you know, everybody's going to go into quarantine for 2 weeks after they got tested. I was like, who's going to do that? Like what key grip with a wife and 2 kids is going to go stay in a hotel for 2 weeks so he could work on a fucking Tom Cruise movie or something?
Yeah.
Like what kind of pay is that man getting that it's going to make it worth his trouble?
Yeah. The second we go back to work, like if we went back to work like in a month or so, the cases would skyrocket with the way we do things now.
Yeah, it's just like I was thinking of the last thing I worked on. Like it had a big like arts and craft aspect to it. So we had like a whole second team off site just building stuff in like an art studio space, and they had communal tools and communal materials. And like some of the articles I was reading, like everybody's gonna have to bring their own toolkit to set.
Yeah, it's not gonna happen.
No sharing tools. And I'm like, okay, like that's one thing if it's like if I need an Apple box from G&E, you know,
right?
You know, Apple box is like, you know, it's a wooden box Tom Cruise would stand on to make him look tall.
Yeah, he did. He does.
But you know, that's like I was just thinking of like that workspace, like that's just like those, you know, people working 12 hours, you know, to bang out props and set dressing, like, and they can't touch each other's tools, you know, like it's not going to work, you know.
No.
Like, you know, they're, you know, just them pulling big, it's all paper craft stuff. So they're pulling like a 6-foot sheet of like purple paper off a 100-foot roll, like, and then nobody else can touch it. Like, It makes no sense to me.
So wait, along with that,
our business, that's our day jobs. I can't imagine what other jobs would be.
right? Along with that, were they also suggesting that in addition to everybody supply their own tools and supplies, are they still suggesting that there would be like the 6-foot distancing between people?
Oh yeah, they're saying like everybody's.
How would you be able to get anything done like that?
You don't.
Like there was an idea like location shooting. So like if you're shooting in somebody's house, which that's frequent for me.
Yeah.
Like, like you'd send in like if I'm the key art department person on it, I go inside, but my assistant, if I even have one, they stay outside the whole time. It's like, well, why are they even there? And I need them standing by to go grab something, or be present so I can just ask them for something. Like how is that all going to work? You can't divide things up into teams like that. And this is just what John and I do. Like there's no way that you can carry this over to every aspect of the economy and expect it to work.
No. Hollywood has a thing where they try to do things cheaply, and they end up spending more money from trying to not do it the right way the first time.
Yeah.
So if they go in and say, we want smaller crews, we need to disinfect everything, it's going to take like 16 hours to do an 8-hour job.
Yeah.
At this point, it's stupid. I mean, when the 1918 pandemic hit, Hollywood, I don't think came back for a year from what I read.
Yeah.
And that was just filmed. There was no TV at the time.
Right. It was just the silent era stuff.
The silent era stuff. Because like I tell you all the time, like, like if someone has like a cold and they go into a film set or pre-production, like, they go into the craft, like the catering area, in like 2 days, everybody has that cold.
Yeah.
Like I've gotten so like deathly ill on I was on a Billy Crystal job, and I got some stomach bug, and I had to go to the hospital from dehydration. Like I stood up and I fell down and had to go to the ER. Like that's how bad it was.
Yeah.
And it was like a 24-hour bug. So take that and multiply it by the thousands, and you got a giant lawsuit on your hands for any of these movie studios.
Yeah. The art director on the last long-term thing I worked on, they got sick. She had to come to set. She was the boss. And then soon enough, like I was sick, and else, we weren't as sick as her, because we weren't the ones burning the midnight oil to keep things running. We weren't in charge.
Right.
So like I could go home and get like a decent night's rest, but it just passes like wildfire on the set.
Yeah. But that's a good point though, because on set, like the shoot crews go like what, 12, 14-hour days.
Yeah.
Not to mention the like when the set painters and the carpenters, like we go 8 to 10-hour days. But when you have people that are exhausted, your immune system is even weaker.
Yeah.
So they're asking for it. They're really asking for it. That article that you shared was so funny. I was just dying. Yeah, that was just crazy.
We'll get to you, David. I see your comments. You're not talking to yourself.
Yeah.
You're the only one watching this. Of course, we're paying attention.
Who's that, David?
What did he say? I didn't have the chat open.
His 84 is stuck in Japan still for almost 2 weeks.
Yeah, I don't know what happened with that, because that was like the only thing I had pre-ordered. I think it was through it might have been through Ami Ami. I don't even know what the deal is with that, because I got I think like maybe 2 months ago now, I got an email saying that, things are delayed, and I figured like, it's that was inevitable. Right. But there hasn't been any update on that. I don't know what's happening.
Yeah, he shipped like the standard shipped like way later than the Rick.
Yeah, like I don't know, because like this was also like before things were. I think this was before things got really severe and like people were really freaking out. So that's why. I mean, now I understand why. But I don't know what happened like initially. You're saying that the Rick came out first.
Yeah, because a couple of my competitors who get the Ricks, they either had them and they're gone, or they still have them kind of hanging out.
Yeah,
on their site. the standard, like I ordered a couple of the standards from Diamond, including my own.
Yeah.
I have no idea if and when I'm ever going to see it. The last update I got was that like the new Star Ace Kong with the boat propeller and the D for Real 55s, the Anguillus and the Godzilla,
Yeah.
and a couple other things. I think the Underworld Lycan and stuff like that. That's also Star Ace. Like they were supposed to ship in April, like early to mid-April. But then Diamond shut down. Like that was the last ship date I got from them. And then literally the next day they're like, we're not shipping jack shit for the entire month of April. And then like a month later, like we're furloughing everybody. And so I can't find out anything right now on it. So
and that's why, like, because you brought up earlier, like there's a new batch of pre-orders like that X Plus put out, like the Iris, a new Rodan, and like all this stuff is coming out or supposedly coming out.
Right.
And I feel like right now it almost smells like desperation at this point, because it's like I don't know, like I don't know who they're expecting to sell this stuff to right now.
Right.
Even like I feel like I don't know if we talked about this, Mike, but that is it what's the company putting out that giant 2019 Ghidorah?
Spiral Studio?
What is it?
Spiral.
Yeah, Spiral. Yeah. They literally picked the wrong time to put that exclusive version out for pre-order. Because first off, like I don't know who that's for. I think we're I was talking to you about that, Mike. I think where it's from a movie that unfortunately that's a whole different topic, but unfortunately didn't perform that well.
Right.
The thing is fucking massive. It's like the size of my torso. You know, I'm like 6'2", right? Like this thing's fucking huge.
Right.
And it takes up a lot of room, and it's almost like it's like 2,000 something. It's like 2,500. How much is that exactly?
Before shipping, it's like 2 G's.
Yeah. So who is that for? Who's gonna buy that? Like it's awesome. Like I want it, but like I can't justify that. You know, especially now. Like what are they thinking right now?
And it's a polystone statue, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's not vinyl, so what does it weigh? Like, it weighs as much as a grown man, basically.
Yeah. No, for sure. And I don't know, man. Like, I mean, that thing is super impressive, but I know, Mike, you're always saying you have your doubts that it's even going to come out.
It took it to a finished prototype at the very least. I'll give him credit for that.
Yeah.
I was telling Alex last year, he was pretty hyped for it. And I was just like this movie's been and gone already. There's no way.
Yeah.
Statue's going to happen. Like this could be one of those things like we're going to talk about it in 5 years. Like, whatever happened to that King Ghidorah statue?
Yeah.
That company just kind of disappeared into the ether, you know. They did that, you know, they have painted prototypes out, they got a price point, and you're right, they picked the absolute like worst time to kind of drop that thing.
Because that was in limbo for a while, because they had put out the standard for pre-order sometime last year, like maybe towards the end of the year.
Right.
And they kept delaying the exclusive, because like there was like a lot of stuff like they were trying to add like little like they have like little like what is it, like they have like little like what's the word that I'm looking for, like these little like holographic like bio things, like it's like a monarch thing or whatever.
I know that.
And like yeah, like and like posters, like exclusive artwork and stuff on these things, and like the base I think is an exclusive too. I think it's like the Boston Stadium or whatever.
Oh, okay.
And so like I think it lights up too. So I mean it's pretty impressive and everything, and it's even bigger now because of the base too, and probably heavier because of the base.
Right.
And like I'm saying, like it's the worst time to put that out. And you were talking about when we were talking about that before, Mike, you said like it was weird that they put out Ghidorah before anything else. Like that's kind of a weird one. Like that's usually like you would think that's like the last one you do to kind of prove yourself a little bit.
Yeah, in hindsight, it's like if it actually does come out, like that's actually, it's cool, because the only other company that really put a decent accurate. Like I like the Ghidorah 2019 design,
Yeah.
even if I'm not a fan of the movie. The only other thing that's out is that Tamashi figure. You know,
Yeah, and even that's kind of janky, honestly.
Yeah.
They really skimped out on that with the paint, especially. But I think like I don't know, yeah, like that's what I'm saying. Like, you know, because it's crazy that this thing scales pretty well with the gigantic X Plus 2019.
right.
And they also another company I've never heard of I've never heard their name before, but they put out recently like it was like limited to 500 pieces, like a 2019 Godzilla that like lights up and everything. I don't know if you've seen that. I think that's another like poly resin.
Is that the one in Europe? It's like in Spain or something.
I'm not sure. You know-
Dream figures, something like that. Is that
let me look it up. Do you know what I'm talking about, Nick?
Is that the one that was sculpted like that? The 8-foot tall statue they had at the movie premieres. Like this statue was kind of like a small version of that.
I'm
Like
not,
the same pose.
let me see. It's a similar pose to that one. Yeah.
Because there's 2 light up ones that came out. There's that one, and then there was another one which I think was plastic or hard vinyl or something that was also light up.
Yeah. Yeah, because I know like I'm looking it up now. Like Mega House did one. But this one's like a more like high end one.
I got the Mega House were like one of the last things I got out of Diamond before they kind of went radio silent.
Oh yeah.
That's a light up. The Mega House. That's about the size of an X Plus though.
Yeah.
But it's probably dream figures that you're thinking of. A lot of people made a bunch of noise about them getting stuff, getting the Godzilla license. They were like, we're going to do a Godzilla and a Ghidorah and everything. And then I looked into them, like I emailed them, and like the response was like a lot of broken English and stuff. And then I looked at like their social media, and I'm like, wait a minute. These guys are in Europe. Like they're making stuff for the European market. Like how? Like why are all the Godzilla blogs going crazy for these guys? Like,
Yeah.
Is there a Godzilla market in Europe that would demand such a thing?
I'm gonna say no.
Yeah.
they get the movies and stuff.
No, they get the movies, but I mean, I don't see that as like having a fan base out there.
I think it's not like the U.S. to be sure. But like I do ship stuff over there occasionally. I don't ship a lot. Like I try to more and more. I encourage people, like they kind of like, can you do anything on the shipping? And I'm just like, it's like you're trying to buy a destroyer, an X Plus destroyer. Like this thing would be $50 to ship it to Maryland. You know, like I try to find one in England or something like that.
Yeah.
Also, it looks like the one that I was talking about is from a company called M Time. Yeah, I've never heard of them before, but yeah, Nick was right. It is modeled after that giant, like 8-foot statue that they had.
That's the one Bluefin takes to. Was at Toy Fair and New York Comic Con and San Diego Comic Con.
Yeah.
The maquette. Yeah. So. Shipping becomes outrageous, then personally be much more selective as opposed to borderline completist. Yeah, that's fair. I mean, David made a point in the chat like that collecting's probably going to change for a lot of this stuff.
Yeah.
And I think that's true. I think what all aspects of it are good. You know, I think you might see, like, I remember in like 99 when Japan had that big economic crash, like a lot of their toy stuff, you saw it trickle in there where like they were doing a ton of like I remember when my folks had a store, we were sending a ton of Spawn shit to Japan. Like they were buying it up. Like we were sending like the peg warmers that we were getting like 10 cases of every wave from McFarlane Toys, and they'd buy like the Malabolgia and we'd be stuck with all the Commando Spawns or something. Japanese were eating them up like crazy. So we were giving them bulk deals on this stuff. And then the whole market crashed over there. But they were moving towards that kind of, the premium sculpted figures. And then all of a sudden it just kind of came to a dead stop. I think McFarlane did like Metal Gear Solid stuff and then they tried to do it, and they wouldn't license the stuff. Like Konami wouldn't license the stuff anywhere because they were like, no, we want it to look like a statue, like a little statue. Basically, we don't want articulation and accessories and stuff like that because it was just too expensive to make that kind of stuff. Whereas they could just essentially pull stuff out of a mold. So, and this was also like right around the time like Marmot was firing up. They were doing that Vinyl Paradise line. They were like big chunky figures, and like nobody ever wants those things now. You know, they not long after that they started doing the Monster Heaven line. So.
Yeah, nobody wants those. Nobody wants the original Marmots.
No, they're very specialized. Like when people buy them, you know, it's usually there's a couple guys like I know that collect them and like nobody else.
Yeah.
So
I see somebody brought up a good point in the comments. Well, a good question. Chris Wilson said, if they hold G-Fest this year, is anyone planning to go? I think that's a topic we can all get into.
Yeah. I want to say I pulled out of the show already.
Yep, same here.
Just because I'm coming from New York, God knows I don't want to be on a plane. I don't care if it's July or not. You know, my brother had this thing, and you know, I don't want to. God forbid I'm asymptomatic. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And I don't think people are going to have the money to spend, and I don't think people are even going to be there. To be honest with you,
it's like everybody thinks that it's in July. It's so far away. Like that is so close.
Yeah.
To this time, it's end of April now. This is a beginning of July convention.
Yeah.
We still haven't had enough testing. There's no idea of vaccines or anything. Like I can't even imagine why people would humor the idea of that show being open.
Right. It's literally I think the only show in July that's not canceled right now.
Yeah.
The Olympics in Tokyo were canceled, but not.
Yeah, not G-Fest.
Well, San Diego Comic-Con.
San Diego Comic-Con is gone. The Democratic National Convention, which is would have been an hour away the week after in Wisconsin, is canceled. You know, they've postponed. They're going to do a virtual con or something for that.
Yeah.
But isn't G-Fest like you would think that would be considered essential though, right?
For some people it is. For some people it is.
I need my fix, man. I gotta have it.
Right.
Because like I think like there was like word that like they wanted to do like an online thing too. Like I think that's kind of the trend right now that people are going with. But yeah, like I don't know like how well that would work because you have the panels, but like people only really give a shit about the dealer's room. Like that's the main.
Yeah.
I've argued with friends about this who have been panelists at the show, who will remain nameless, that it is a fucking monster toy show. You know, like it is a toy show. Like all the action is in the dealer's room and Artist Alley, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
And they'll tell me like, no, you're wrong. You don't know what you're talking about because you don't get out of that dungeon all day. I look at the numbers. I look at everybody's numbers. You know, I look at what people are doing in the room there. It's a toy show.
Yeah.
That's what this fan, you know, Alex and I have talked about this. That's what this fandom is about. It's about the merchandise in the US, you know, it's a status symbol, you know?
Yeah.
And G-Fest is my biggest show of the year. Like I prep all year long for every G-Fest. Like literally a week after I get home and I get over my convention crud and everything, I'm thinking about the next one. And like it's a big hit for me to not do it, but I want to be able to do it safely. Like some of my really good customers there, like they're people I consider friends. I would seriously worry about them being in a room like that because they're definitely guys that are just like immunocompromised and stuff, and they could get this, and I worry about their health and their well-being. And people say like, oh, it's going to be July, there'll be testing and stuff like that. And like I said to John and I said to Nick at one point, I said, all the money I handle at that show smells like cat piss, hardcore cat piss. Like cash in general, if you handle it enough, especially at any convention, smells like cat piss for some reason. To me, anyway, that show, like it really smells like cat piss. And there's some guys in that dealer's room that like they live on the raggedy edge of life in general, 360 days of the year. You know, we're just going to trust people to not have this at that point, or you know, everybody to have antibodies to fight this off. Like, that's a tight little room, and it gets crowded on Friday and Saturday. You know, so I would love that if they could postpone the show to November and we could still do it safely. I would think that's great, but I don't know how we do it.
I think at this point, even then, like even now, that seems pretty far off. But I feel like because of just how severe everything and like just unprecedented all this is, like I feel like everyone's just gonna be too afraid to go.
Yeah.
I feel like, I mean, like we'll see where things go from here. But like I feel like even next year, like I feel like going into 2021, like things are gonna be pretty different still.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then John, I think you brought it up before. Like, even if G-Fest does go on in July or November or whatever, are people going to have money to spend at the dealer's room? Are people going to have money to put up nights in a hotel and all that stuff?
Mm.
Like, how many people are furloughed or laid off? Or
Yeah,
you know, this isn't like, oh, everything's been functioning as normal. We've just all been home, and then when they say we can go outside, everybody's bank account's the same, all their income's the same.
Right.
Like, it's completely different.
yeah.
Hey, I finally got noticed my $1,200 is finally going to be mailed out to me the end of the week.
Oh, wow.
Well, that's exciting.
Yeah.
So,
How'd you find that out?
on the IRS website, they have like a tab where you can say like "Get my payment," and I've been fighting with it all. I think I told you like Friday, like I was fighting with it, and it timed me out. It was like, "You've used it enough for today. Come back."
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Wait, does that mean you get to see that nice big old signature on that check?
Oh God, probably.
That's why I'm hoping for that direct deposit. I don't want to see his dumbass signature on it.
Yeah, we got direct deposit, thankfully.
Yeah,
That's cool.
Yeah.
I'll save that as a souvenir to generate. I'll make sure I do a remote deposit on it so I can hang on to it.
Yeah.
I wonder if you all could put on a virtual G-Fest. I've heard this. This is
Yeah, I've thought about it too.
some other conventions, have tried talking about doing a virtual con. I don't understand how it works though, because like, can't we call what we're literally doing right now like this is a virtual convention? You know, like
Yeah.
it's a virtual convention of 19 people counting us. You know?
It's not
Right.
the same, man. I don't know. I don't think that would work.
Yeah, I don't get, like, I've even seen there was one, I don't know if it was like Matt Frank was doing it or somebody else. There was one that was selling like dealer and exhibitors like spots for their virtual convention that were like $25, and I was just like, what do you get?
Yeah.
That was PowCon.
PowCon, yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Like what? Yeah. Like, so you pay that $25. Is it basically just like advertising for your website or your eBay store or your Shopify, or like,
I think how Emerald City Comic Con did it was you get like a time slot, and when it's like 1 to 3, you have like this window, and
Right.
I think it's just all your merchandise like on the screen for like the hour or something like that. So like whoever wants to buy your stuff. The question is though, because I talked to Dope Pope about this,
right.
if there was like an online convention, I typically sell my prints online normally. So I have boxes, I have a box full of prints ready to go. But someone like Dope Pope, he gets his prints made for the show because he doesn't have an online store. So
Right.
you have to sort of be set up to do something like this, and then you have to make sure you have enough, because what if people want to buy 3 prints, 1
Right.
print? Well, then it's like, 1 box per print. You have to figure out, packages to sell people.
Right.
It's a lot of logistical stuff that I think you can't I don't think you could just jump into it. I think you should really be set up to do something like that.
No, yeah, and I don't want to be a fucking stinker here, but I feel like they can barely run a physical, like, actual convention. Like, to have an online convention, like, I don't know, I that would be a total shit show, I think.
Well, I wouldn't trust it. If it was like New York, if it was like a Reed Pop show, like New York Comic Con, I'd be like, okay, I'd be in for that, but not for.
Yeah, they could make something work.
Yeah, they have the money for it.
This is it. Honestly, to hear that described, it's exactly what I speculated to you the other day, that it's basically like you have an OnlyFans page for your, for your stuff.
I still don't know what that is, Mike.
And
I'll link you to mine.
Yeah.
We'll use mine as an example.
No, yeah, I if the show gets like physically canceled, I think the guys that run the G-Fest committee would just sort of pack it in for the year. You know, I don't see it. Not to be like, well, help us do something. I wouldn't expect them to. It would have to be a bunch of us would have to kind of come together and figure something out. We tried to do that for Monster Mania. Like, a bunch of dealers are in a Monster Mania like fan group, and when that got canceled back in March, you know, a bunch of people came on and said, well, the dealers should post their websites or their Etsy stores or their eBay store or whatever, so that we could buy stuff from them. So, like, me and my foolishness, I quick got like all the NECA shit that I saved for the show on the front page of the website. And I had like $200 in sales like the whole weekend. And then the rest of the time it was people from that group just sort of like tire kicking me or just heckling me and telling, oh, your prices are terrible. It's like, well, you pay me $30 for this stupid Michael Myers doll. But because there's two trains between us, you're going to give me a hard time. Like, I'm really glad I wasted 12 hours of my life taking all these pictures. Like,
Yeah.
That's not to say, I always say this for any griping I might do about G-Fest. I find it's the best crowd out of any convention that I do. So I'm not saying the crowd would do that. I just think it's one of those things, like some of you guys have said, a lot of people don't have money.
Yeah.
So, nobody's. I'm not working a lot, and a lot of my sales are kind of slow on the site. So, like, I'm not buying a lot myself. So, like, what money what money people have for a $300 X Plus?
Right.
More than likely, a lot of the attendees are blowing through their G-Fest savings right now just to buy toilet paper and and wet wipes and stuff. So
yeah, I did hear an alternate date was available for G-Fest, which was Labor Day weekend.
Oof.
Yeah,
that's still way too soon.
Yeah, I agree.
You're still one of the things I've always heard is that, and I agree, it's a two-part thing, and I agree with the first part. G-Fest is danger close to San Diego Comic-Con.
Yeah.
And this has been a problem for years. And people have told JD, you got to get it away from San Diego Comic-Con. And he always says, well, nothing Godzilla happens at San Diego Comic-Con. Of course, Legendary's been there with Pacific Rim, Godzilla 14, King of the Monsters, Tamashii Nations debuted SH Monster Arts in 2011 at San Diego Comic-Con. Toho was there last summer. I remember Dell. I saw Dell working the Toho booth when I walked up to the postcard. I was like, oh, so this is why you weren't at G-Fest this year. I respect that. And he just laughed. But the alternate, time frame that I've heard bandied about, which I don't agree with, is moving it into sometime into August or September, which I don't know if this is the case out in Chicago, Alex, but like here on the East Coast, like mid to late August to like Labor Day, that's when like people go to Disneyland or they go down to the shore. They go on vacation.
Sure.
Vacation here on the East Coast. I don't know how it works elsewhere, but I feel like it would just be a ghost town Labor Day weekend. So
well, there's also Dragon Con is also that weekend too.
Oh shit! I totally forgot.
Yeah.
People still go to that.
It's huge. Yeah.
I know it's huge. I know one dealer that does it. You know, one dealer I'm friendly with that does it. Like it's a Monster Mania guy.
Right.
David saying, just get okay, David, calm down. Like you're so militant.
What's he saying?
Just fucking skip it. Just scorch earth and walk away.
I love you, David.
Or more than likely, my educated guess is the show is going to be canceled.
Right.
Like it's still going to be too dangerous to put it on, too risky.
No, I think
agree.
it's ridiculous that they haven't canceled it at this point.
Yeah.
Well, there's also there's a thing with conventions that they have to wait until like a certain date to cancel.
Right.
Oh, okay.
It's like I forget, it's a French name. It's in every contract clause. It's like an act of God clause or something.
Uh-huh.
Like earthquake, pandemic, or UFO landing, or whatever the hell it is.
Yeah.
So they have to wait till they get a little bit closer. Now, if that's the case, just say that's the case. Like San Diego, I think, mentioned that too.
Right.
So I think G-Fest, they were saying, well, it's a small enough show that we can wait a little bit before we make that decision. But it just, a lot of people are, what I'm afraid of, because I do love the show and we all make really good money there. Me, Nick, and the other artists, as well as you, Michael. And my fear is that with the way they've been handling this thing, a lot of people are getting turned off from them. And
yeah, for sure.
I've been seeing a lot of people, long-time attendees, saying they're not going this year. This is before the, this was like maybe like a month ago when they had that first tweet about G-Fest. It's like, oh, it'll be fine by then. Just wash your hands.
Yeah.
Don't look at anyone.
I think it was this month. That might have been this month.
Was it this month?
I think so.
It was in March.
Was it?
It was early on. Yeah, it was early on.
Okay.
So I noticed a lot of people were getting really upset, and I was like, man, it's not good because, it's like, look, it's not my biggest show. So if it goes away, it goes away. But for other people, it is their biggest show.
Yeah.
And I don't want people to get turned off. Like I did a live stream with Attack Peter last night, just like, it was really like, out of the blue. And he said, he's starting to collect the toys. He was getting shit in one of the Facebook toy groups. He asked a question and some guy was like totally gatekeeping him. And he's like, if this fandom wants to live and survive, you can't behave that way. You can't be a dick. And he's like, people are just going to get turned off from it.
Yeah.
And I said, yeah, I know that's been an issue because he notices the way we talk about the Godzilla fandom. And I said, yeah, when you're in it, it can be pretty toxic, like most fandoms. But this one, G-Fest has to be careful because it's the only show of its kind.
I'm actually going to step out real quick, fellas. Keep going here.
All right,
for sure.
So,
dude,
Alex.
Yeah, you're totally right, man. Like I was in a live stream last night and we were talking about the same thing, like just like the toxicity when it comes to the Godzilla fan base, because even like I mean, like all my interests, are inherently fucking nerdy and shit, and right. growing up, this is I'm a little younger than you guys, so like this might be lost on you. But I was a big fan of Sonic the Hedgehog growing up.
Sonic, yeah.
And but like that fan base is like notorious on the internet for being like the worst fucking fan base. But I will still say, as somebody who was like involved in stuff like that, growing up, I think the Godzilla fan base might be the worst fucking fan base I've ever seen. I'm not kidding you, man. Like it's and it sucks too because it like like you're saying, like it's such a relatively like niche thing, like right. It feels like we're such a small community. So the fact that like whenever people are shitty, it feels so much louder when they are, because it's right. It's bullshit, man. Like and a lot of it too, like it's the toy guys, like people being like, that's why I can't do these collecting groups anymore and all that, because like there are people that they'll jump down each other's throats for fucking nothing, man. It's like,
it's ridiculous. I know.
It's like, oh, you buy like a certain like brand of toy. Like, you know what? It's like that gatekeepy thing we're talking about. And, like people will say like, I'm a white knight and all this bullshit, whatever they want, like terminology they want to throw out. But like
signaling is the new one.
What's the new one?
Virtue signaling.
Yeah. But it's just like, if you're going to like dump on some kid, for buying a Bandai Creation fucking figure, it's like, what are you doing? You're in your 30s or 40s or older, whatever. Like, what's your deal here? What's happening? You know,
Right.
it's fucking ridiculous. Like it's these people like, you know, that should know better, but they act like children fighting over a fucking toy truck. You know, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, it's an unfortunate part of the fandom. I think with Godzilla fandom, like I'm all about the movies over the
Yeah.
toys.
Yeah.
But I think, like me and Michael said last week, they're not making movies like they used to. They're just making toys now. So when you have like a young kid and he's got like this toy in his hand, it's like that's all he knows is the toy.
Yeah.
And then like, okay, you introduce him to the movies. And, you know, like let's say the kid's first movie's Megalon. I mean, like, look at Godzilla started as a metaphor, right? Against nuclear weapons, mankind, our punishment.
Right.
And he's turned into a superhero. And you got all these iterations of Godzilla from 54 up into 2020, right? So Godzilla means so many different things to so many different people.
Yeah.
And you have people from all ages. You have people from that just love the 70s films, people that only love the 60s films, only the 90s films. It's so open and broad that it's so open to interpretation that you're going to get all kinds of people, I think.
Oh yeah. There's literally something for everybody, I think.
Right. You get like a character like Spider-Man before before Brand New Day. He was literally the same character from like 1962 up until like that moment in a comic. Same thing with Superman, with Batman. You know, they've sort of been the same, but Godzilla has just been so different.
Yeah.
Over that entire span. The other thing I think too is because it's Japanese, nobody knows how to speak Japanese. So I think they just interpret things the way they want. Information gets spread wrongly. You get the people that say, oh, there was 2 endings of King Kong versus Godzilla, which there wasn't.
Yeah.
You know, I just think it's so, it's like a field day. It's like, it's so open for so many different people.
No, for sure. And you brought up a good point too. Like when you're saying like, you know, a kid has the toy and like, that's what they know.
Right.
You know, and I think a lot of it too is like the, just how like not easily accessible a lot of like the movies are.
Yeah.
Like now, like we have like I was saying this earlier, like on that other stream, but like that Showa set, like the Criterion set felt like a pipe dream. Like if you would have told me like even like a year ago that was going to come out, like I'd be like, yeah, all right. You know, like even that seemed like ridiculous, but like, you can like, you know, like my thing is that like you can walk into Walmart right now and you can find a figure of King Shisa, you know, like a figure from like a relatively obscure Japanese movie from 1974. That's crazy. And that's awesome, you know, but, or like even like back when like the NECA Godzilla 84 came out, it's like, oh sweet, you know, but where's the movie? You know what I mean? Like the movie, it's like, you know, right now, even okay, so like for the first time we have all these movies together in like this big collection, but like even that in itself, like it's accessible for us now, but like for like a casual fan, like they're not going to want to drop like nearly $200 for the entire set. You know why? You know, like I feel like they should have like these like budget releases too for some of these, you know, because like for the longest time, even like, you know, using that one as an example, like Godzilla 74 or Mechagodzilla 74, like that Sony DVD was out of print for the longest time. And like, that's another issue is like the rights issues, you know, are always like running rampant. And like, I don't know, just a lot of these like Toho movies are just not super accessible. And even when they are, like they take a couple steps forward and then like 30 back, you know? And it's like, so like a lot of people like within the fan base, like they prioritize the toys, but like it seems like even like companies now, it seems like that's what they're pushing out, you know. So which I mean I get why they would do it, but like I don't know, man. Like it's just I don't know.
I mean, I can only speak to my upbringing. Like I know me, Michael, and Nick grew up in the East Coast, obviously. So we had Godzilla movies and we had the Kung Fu movies on at the same time.
Yeah.
So I was only exposed to movies with the occasional Bandai toy that I'd find at a local comic store.
Yeah.
So I was forced to love the movies first. If I grew up now, I can't say I'd have the same sort of upbringing, unless my dad is like our friend Gino, Nick. Our friend Gino is another artist, draws Godzilla stuff, and his daughter loves Godzilla, and she loves Hedorah. Like she watches that movie over and over, and she's like 3 years old. It's crazy.
Yeah. And
he is getting her Godzilla toys. I just sent him a Gigan toy he bought for me. Nice. And she's really getting into it, but he is such a real fan that he's exposing her to the films where they came from.
Right.
So she's not just holding up the toy and has no idea like what, you know, all this stuff is really. So I don't know if I would be as lucky. Like, I feel fortunate that I grew up where I did.
Yeah, same here. I'm like I was saying before, like I'm a little younger than you guys, but like
Right.
I was lucky in that like I happen like my local Blockbuster happened to have a lot of the movies there. And yeah, like that's another thought that I had too, was like what are they doing to try to attract like a new generation of fans? Because like now it seems like to be a Godzilla fan, like it's something like you pass down to like your kids,
Right.
you know? Because really, like nowadays, like all we really have for like kids, you know, really is the MonsterVerse, and even that, like a kid's gonna be fucking bored to tears by Godzilla 2014. I can guarantee you, a kid's not gonna like. I'm, you know, see, like that's a whole different conversation. But like, you know, like what do they have to like attract, you know, like these new fans? And honestly, I thought King of the Monsters was gonna be that, and that fucking flopped. You know, like that. I feel like that's the kind of movie you would think would be a hit. You know?
Yeah.
Right.
Well, to that point about like our upbringing, like we all saw these movies on cable TV and they were all dubbed. And I feel that is the biggest misstep of the Criterion set, where like 5 of them have dubs, even if it's like, you know, a crappy international one.
Yeah.
But I can imagine someone being like, oh boy, here's all the Godzilla films in one package. I'm going to show this to my son. He's 5.
Yeah.
He loves dinosaurs. I grew up on these movies. He's going to love them too. Well, sorry, your kid's going to have to struggle with subtitles.
Yeah.
Like, so how do you get a new, younger fan base if it's not accessible to them?
Right.
And I hear so many people defending the packaging of that set, being like, oh, it's bright colors. They want to attract kids. Well, kids of a reading age at a certain level only.
Yeah, kids are going to be attracted to the fucking Criterion set. That's totally marketed towards kids.
Yeah.
It's interesting. I talked to I have Exhumed Films out here, which is like the local like revival, like, you know, horror movie revival guys, you know, and the one guy, Harry, has tons of material from when the movies were theatrically circulating in the 60s and 70s.
Oh, nice.
And I ran into him like at one of their screenings like Labor Day weekend last year. And we were talking about the Criterion set, and he kind of got grumpy about it. He was just like, he has relationships with Criterion. Like he's lent them or rented them like stuff, like trailers and stuff, like, because he'll have like the best print available or something. And he was like, and this was sort of known, like they were like, you know, Toho doesn't own the rights to a lot of the original dubs, like the Titra dubs for like Destroy All Monsters and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. So they were just sort of like using the Criterion set to kind of disappear a lot of stuff and just make it go extinct. And like Harry was telling me, he was like, they're worried like Samuel Arkoff's like grandniece is going to kind of come out of the woodwork on them if that stuff goes on there, and just sue them into the Earth's mantle. You know, like it's so weird because they do it to people like crazy. Like they're so nuts with like their cease and desists and all their legalese and everything. But they're also worried about people doing it to them. So like there's whole versions of these movies that are kind of being lost to time. You know, it was kind of a bummer with the Criterion set. Like I understand why it, you know, given my druthers, as a nerd, I would prefer to have the original Japanese cut. But I started watching these movies. They were dubbed, you know. They were on Philly 57, and they were in English, you know.
Yeah,
and that's like a tough sell. Like you're right, it's a tough sell for a lot of kids. So I think the first time I watched the subtitled one was King Ghidorah. I got a bootleg tape from like a baseball card show. And I was like in 5th grade, and I put it on, and I was like, "Oh shit, this isn't in English." Like,
yeah.
Like 11 at the time, I was like, "All right, well here goes nothing." You know, if I want to see it, this is.
Yeah.
I was also, you know, I was also a better reader than I was at math, so you know, it wasn't a big deal for me. But I could see it, you know, being a headache for some kids.
No, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. I do think that King of the Monsters did bring a lot of awareness, though, for Godzilla for kids. I do a lot of conventions, and I talk to a lot of people, and I got a lot more kids at my table now than I ever did because of King of the Monsters and Godzilla 14. And I just I met this young collector in Sweden. Actually, he's a friend of a coworker, or he's a nephew of a coworker. And she bought him one of my posters as a gift. And now he like messages me, and he's like, he's 13. And he's like, I have no one else to talk to about this in Sweden. I can't find the movies. There's no streaming for these movies in Sweden. And he's like, I love King of the Monsters. I was like, what was the only one? Like, what was the first movie you saw? And he said, King of the Monsters. So I'm noticing that there is a trend. I hear it from a lot of people. They always go to King of the Monsters as like that movie. And now that it's on TV, more people will see it.
Right.
More kids will discover it.
Yeah.
So I'm not too worried about the fandom like disappearing. I don't think it ever will. I just get concerned with the fandom not being welcoming to newer people.
That's a huge issue, I think. Yeah, definitely.
Because even me, like, you guys know me, like, I've been doing this stuff for like all my artwork since 2014, 15. I know Nick has been doing it for a while too. And we do it for fun, right? And then all of a sudden it turns into something else. You get more involved in the fandom. You start making money with it. I do t-shirts and posters and stuff like that, which I'm not supposed to. Anyway, to the
I wanted to ask about that actually, if I could for a minute.
Sure, I'll answer as legitimately as I can.
No, just because like I'm completely ignorant to all that stuff. Like I was wondering like how like licensing works. Like if you like, is there something like that you need to like go through? Like, do you need to go through Toho when it comes to like selling prints at G Fest and stuff like that? And just because I know they're super like litigious with like all this shit.
To answer that, for the prints, according to two people that have contact with Toho, I won't name them, but you guys both know who they are. They know about us. They're very aware of us, but they really don't care about the artwork so much.
Okay. That's surprising.
Yeah, but it's kind of a gray area across all of pop culture with like Marvel and DC.
Yeah, that's super hard to like pin down.
Yeah, it's like roaches. It's like cockroaches. You kill one, 5 more will take its place. It's like Hydra. It's basically like Hydra.
So they don't like even bother then.
They won't. No, they won't bother me. But I don't know if you're familiar with Holy Mountain Printing. They're like a heavy metal T-shirt company. Anyway, I approached them about making. I approached them about something unrelated to T-shirts, and I said, "Hey, if you do another," they did a kaiju art show. I said, "Oh, I do kaiju art. If you ever do another one, let me know." And he's like, "No, I want to make T-shirts with your art." I said, "Okay, that's cool." He's like, "And I'll release it on my website the weekend of King of the Monsters." I said, "Oh, that's great." So he made these 3 gorgeous shirts of Space Godzilla, Monster Zero, and Gargantuas. And the day he released them, it got all this attention on social media. We coincided, like I posted on my Instagram, they posted on theirs. They have like 20,000 followers. People were messaging me about it. By the end of the day, I noticed it was gone. I was like, where did it go? And I was emailing them and they weren't getting back to me. And finally they said, Toho sent them a cease and desist that day. It's like they were waiting for it. So they had to pull everything. And now they don't touch anything with Godzilla. And I was like heartbroken because I didn't know too much about it. I don't know if they had a license to make any of that stuff because they're a pretty legit company.
Yeah.
But they were
because Joey Wallace, he's friendly with them.
Yeah.
And they were apparently trying to get in the G Fest. And he was just like, dude, he's like, they're asking me, do you know what to tell them? And I was just like, yeah, tell them to go fuck themselves.
Yeah.
But like, I was looking at their stuff. I was like, is their stuff is it legit? Because like they did like a vinyl pressing of the Smog Monster soundtrack.
Right.
So I would think they'd have to get permission to do that. But apparently.
Yeah.
That's the same company?
Yeah.
Same company. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Like a pretty neat cover for it. It was in like some special color vinyl. I think.
No, it was cool looking. I just didn't know that was the same company as the T-shirts.
Yeah.
Yeah. With merchandise, they're really strict. I'm sorry, Michael.
No, it's right. I wonder if they kind of got like a larger kind of hammer dropped on them because I noticed like they're selling like NECA stuff and Super 7 stuff now. Like they're printing shirts for like indie bands and stuff. But otherwise, like a lot of the stuff they're doing is you know, it's all toys and stuff all of a sudden. So
Yeah. From what it sounded like, it was a pretty big hammer that Toho dropped on him.
yeah.
And I was heartbroken, of course, because the shirts were gorgeous and people were really into them. And it was like, wow, this is like a big break for me. And then literally hours later, it was over.
It's done.
So we have an artist in G-Fest. He used to call himself the Godzilla guy. And Toho sent him a cease and desist because the name was the Godzilla guy.
You remember that guy, Nick Shev?
Who?
The guy?
Who?
Yeah.
What kind of pants did he wear?
But basically, Alex, he was selling Godzilla coffee and soap with the Godzilla logo like on the package itself.
Yeah.
And Toho was like, he showed us the letter. He was like, we don't care so much about the artwork. It's just the merchandise that you guys sell.
Yeah.
So
Gotcha.
you'll find that with a lot of companies, not just Toho. It's really about the merchandise.
He was selling Ghidorah poop too. That was like
Yeah.
It was like uncooked pasta.
Yeah.
Like no, but they're like super shisty with that stuff. Like, wasn't there a beer called like Mecha Hopzilla or something like that? Where it
Yeah.
had, it was a parody of Mecha Godzilla, but it was a parody,
Yeah.
you know, and they got a cease and desist for that.
Yeah. They're known to do that stuff.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Or another beer company does like it's not like Dogzilla and stuff like that. Like everybody Zilla, and some of them get away with it, and some of them don't.
I mean, but it's weird too because like that's just like that suffix is like part of our lexicon now, you know.
Yeah.
It's Watergate. Everything, you know, has a, you know, every kind of political scale has a gate after it.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
But thanks a lot, Blue Oyster Cult.
Yeah. Way to go, guys. That's awesome.
Is any while we're here, anybody in the chat have like questions for any or all of us?
They don't give a shit.
Yeah. Well, for all two of you that are still watching, I saw Peter. We have Attack Peter here. I don't know if you guys noticed. Give a shout out to Leslie. I don't know if he's still with us. Zillagate. Yeah. We're due for a Zillagate.
Zillagate. Yeah. It's just it's unfortunate that the fandom and everything is just so it is the way it is. But I wish Toho would do more with their property. I know they're not hurting for money. They are like the #1 film studio in Japan. So I just wish they realize how big the market is over here, which I think they're kind of getting the idea of how big it is.
Yeah, because like they're having more of like a presence with like the social media and stuff too, which is kind of embarrassing.
Yeah, good or bad.
If they need a new intern, I got nothing going on. I'll do it like pro bono.
And you don't really drink, which I'm pretty sure their intern might.
Yeah.
I definitely sent stuff to John and Nick and be like, oh no, I guess it's martini time wherever.
Yeah, it's 5 o'clock somewhere.
Yeah. So, which kaiju film do you all find most overrated? From Leslie.
Overrated.
Which one?
Shin Godzilla.
Ooh.
I don't know. I feel like I was telling John earlier, like it's such a this is such a like a niche like fan base where I feel like every movie like I don't know like no, I don't feel like any movie is really overrated. It's just like I guess how you perceive it, you know, like I don't know, like I feel like maybe Shin Godzilla might be one, but like it's just like it's all about perspective though, because
it's definitely subjective.
Yeah, and like no movie does like gangbusters anyway. Like they don't perform like super well. You know, there hasn't been like there's not like Godzilla's not like $1 billion like a franchise. You know, where like every installment will make like $1 billion or anything. But so I feel like each movie like it deserve like I mean, if anything, I feel like most of the movies are underrated. You know.
Yeah,
but I guess it's about the context too. Like within the fan base, like there are some that like are. It's just because like people are loud too. You know, if they're like hyping something up, like there's a good chunk of people that are like hyping up Shin Godzilla and stuff, but like in the grand scheme of things, it's probably not even that many people because we're such a small fan base. I'm rambling at this point. That's what I was trying to fucking say.
Alex, you're answering that like a politician.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, in your own opinion, which do you think is most overrated and which do you think is underrated?
GMK is overrated.
I'll back that up.
Okay.
No, you know what? I only say that because I like the movie. I think it's great, but like I feel like within like that, like the Millennium series, I kind of like the Kiryu saga a little more. Like those are the ones I gravitate towards.
I was gonna say Tokyo SOS. I think is very of the Millennium Cycle. That's like the most underrated movie.
Yeah, I'll say that too. Yeah.
Everybody either loves or hates Final Wars. You know, I think most of the movie. I think GMK is like always. I've said this to John. It always feels like really frustrated to me. Like it feels like they did the best with what they have, and it's not a bad movie, but just knowing what like Kaneko had initially intended.
Yeah.
You know, there's stuff in that movie I like, but the one I find enjoying myself more with is Tokyo SOS.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
No, I was just saying I kind of wish the Kiryu movies were like one big movie instead of final warts existing.
If they did like the third one.
What's that?
If they made like a third in the Kiryu series and wrapped up.
Yeah, the ending always seemed to, at least to me, it always seemed to kind of allude to like a Godzilla versus Godzilla movie.
Weren't there rumors that was like their plan before like they even finished SOS?
Yeah,
or they were going to do like the Ghost, that the long rumored like Ghost Godzilla film and stuff like that. But then those movies, nobody bothered to see them. Like it was just, it was complete apathy towards them. So,
yeah.
Well, we'll get this asshole that did Versus, and we'll just give him as much as he wants and let him do whatever. So,
I'm gonna. David mentioned Megaguirus being one that's kind of underrated. I kind of that movie has some cool ideas. I think.
I like Megaguirus. I think
it's
got the music. That's the best part of that movie.
The music's good. Yeah.
Yeah.
That movie's like watching paint dry. That and Godzilla 2, I usually do like I pick out some stuff to watch right before G-Fest to kind of get myself kind of psyched up. And I was actually, I don't expect us to have G-Fest this year, but I was actually going to revisit Godzilla 2000 for like the first time in, I don't know, going on 20 years. Cause I think I saw it in theaters when TriStar put it out.
Yeah.
And I got like a VHS of the original Japanese cut from Video Daikaiju, and I think that's legitimately the last time I watched that movie. So, and that was like late 2000. So
people love that one.
I like Godzilla 2000. It's not the best of that series, and I mean, there's a lot of slow parts, but I think that there's components to it. Like if you mixed elements of Godzilla 2000 and maybe something like Godzilla versus Megaguirus, where there was more action. Because I like the idea of there's the Godzilla Prediction Network, and they're like storm chasers. And I also like that, his former colleague or whatever works for this other guy, and there's the conflicting of like study or destroy. I like those elements. There's just not enough of that in the movie, as I think would really elevate it if there was.
Right.
That movie also does one of the few things which I still don't know why this series doesn't do more of. They actually like go into some of the biology of Godzilla.
Yeah.
Right.
And I always find that weird. Like they've never done more of that. They've never had more than just the one scene in 84 where Godzilla feeds off a reactor. Like these are really cool elements that make this character super neat.
Right.
And we're like barely ever touched upon.
They do it a little bit in Destroyer when he's melting down. They sort of talk about his reactor and Bellotti with the anti-nuclear energy bacteria. They talk a little bit about that.
And how they just didn't understand that, being cold-blooded doesn't actually mean your temperature is a low temperature.
Right.
Yeah. But I mean, there's so many elements of that for whatever reason, it's like, no, less about that and more about a single parent with a child who's depressed. Yeah. More of that.
Which movie was that? That was 2000?
No, I'm just saying Godzilla in general, like in the series, they do less of actually studying the monster and more of like, oh, here's a single parent with a child. The
Right.
child depressed. This is our main focus here.
Are you saying you don't like family drama and your science fiction?
Family drama is fine, but like there's other notes than just the single parent dynamic.
Yeah. I do have a pick for overrated though, and this might be a polarizing one. Mechagodzilla 74.
Oh, fuck you.
I think
I'm
I think it's overrated. Bye.
Like why? Why do you say this, John?
So I have reasons. Now you could watch all these Godzilla movies and pick them apart, right? You could be like, why did the Planet X aliens show up? And like, why didn't they just take Godzilla and Rodan? Like, all right, whatever. So I watched Mechagodzilla. Outside of the kaiju stuff and the music, the story is just like these advanced aliens make this war machine, right? They come to Earth. They're hiding with an advanced war machine that they could easily just destroy everything with. And it goes haywire, and they need a human scientist to fix this alien technology. And I'm trying to figure out why they would need a human being to fix an alien war machine.
Yeah, they can master robotics and space travel,
Right.
but yeah, they need an Earth brain to get it over the hump.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then when their faces get ripped off, they turn into apes, and suddenly they can't communicate language anymore.
Yeah.
Remember when he's on the ship and he just starts making the grunting sounds? He doesn't speak anymore.
Yeah, maybe they can only speak Earthling when they look like an Earthling.
Yes, when they have a face mask on.
Yeah.
Yes, that's exactly what it is.
That's what the lizard people do.
The lizard people?
What they do.
You talking about V?
Oh, no, I'm talking about the high ups in our political structure.
Yeah.
Oh, well, that's a whole other conversation. That's a whole other webcast.
Alex, do you want to defend your movie here, or?
No, he's right.
But I'm not saying that, like I said, but I'm not saying that you can't go and pick apart other movies. It's just like it's so less plausible in that movie. A lot of the human stuff in that movie, like when the volcano erupts in the beginning, right? And that rock comes flying out. What is that rock? Is that Mechagodzilla in the rock?
I don't know. It's falling.
This is a serious question. It's been bothering me since I was a kid. What's the rock? See what I mean?
I think he was in it, wasn't he?
Maybe like it explodes and then he comes walking out.
Yeah. I remember getting the New World tape from like Kmart, when they finally went to like retail.
Yeah.
And just screaming at my mom because I thought there was something wrong with the VHS because Godzilla's voice didn't sound right when he comes out of that rock.
Yeah.
And just driving her absolutely bonkers, being like, "Mom, there's something wrong with this tape we bought at Kmart." That's the only thing wrong with it is the sounds are not right. So,
but I will say that entire sequence, like the ideas in that movie were fantastic for a Godzilla movie. Like the fact that they disguised him as Godzilla and they were trying to frame him essentially. I don't really know what the plan was, where they were going to go with that, because eventually Godzilla would show up. But the whole refinery fight was incredible. I love King Caesar's design. The Mechagodzilla was a lot more physical in that movie than he was in Terror. But again, in Terror, it was a different kind of war machine.
Yeah.
Where in Terror, it was like they were going to use Titanosaurus to kill Godzilla. And they were holding Mechagodzilla back to sort of save him for like the ultimate destruction.
He's definitely a distance fighter in Terror. It's not close combat.
Right.
I would just want to say I actually prefer Terror of the two.
Yeah, I do too.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
Yeah.
What were you gonna say, Alex?
I was gonna say too, like for me, like it's that was my first Godzilla movie, Mechagodzilla 74. So that's why I have like such an attachment to it. But it is pretty flawed. I would say. I do have one more underrated one. King of the Monsters. It's like super fucking underrated. I think it's like
mute Alex here. David saying Raids Again is overrated.
I never hear that brought up.
Yeah, I feel like everyone doesn't like it.
Yeah, I thought
as they should.
have to be said in order for something to be overrated.
Yeah, I don't. Raids again. I saw Raids again pretty early on, so I was always surprised when it was considered like a rarely seen one or a hard to find one in the States.
Yeah.
I don't think it's a good movie. Like I wouldn't call it one of the worst, but I would definitely give it like dishonorable mention. It's not. I watch it now and I was like, this is a quickie to cash in on the success of Gojira.
It's very formulaic.
Leslie's saying Sea Monster is underrated.
I think so. Yeah.
I would go. I used to think it was kind of a shit movie, but just revisit it like in the Criterion set and stuff, and knowing more about them. I hadn't watched it in a long time. Just knowing more about the movies from that time period, like it's a fun little movie. It's a very colorful movie. Considering it originally started life as a King Kong script. Yeah, it's pretty interesting how they just kind of, swapped Godzilla in for Kong. I always wonder, like, what was Kong going to fight Ebirah
or Mothra
underwater? Like Kong, because Godzilla goes underwater to kind of duke it out with him there.
Yeah.
Maybe that scene would have changed if it was Kong. Maybe Kong would have like dragged Ebirah onto the land and like, I don't know.
Well, he fights the snake in King Kong Escapes. That was in the water.
Yeah, but he's above water the whole time.
That's true.
Yeah. I haven't watched that one in a long time.
Oh, then yeah, they probably added that because of Godzilla. But I'm curious, like if Mothra would have still been in it too, like would Kong have interacted with Mothra?
Right.
I also agree with Leslie again that I think Destroy All Monsters is pretty overrated.
Very.
It's pretty boring, honestly.
I agree.
I disagree. That movie is just a cavalcade of wonders. I love the colors. I love the monsters. The sets look great. It's not like the most intelligent movie. Granted, it's like a dumbed down version of Monster Zero. Like it's the same plot, and Monster Zero did it better.
Yeah.
But Destroy All Monsters just looks so good, and I like the score. I love that city rampage scene.
Yeah.
The 68 Anguirus is perfect. Like it.
Yeah. I'll give Destroy All Monsters a lot of credit for that Tokyo set that they made.
Yeah.
But then it gets sort of wasted with that missile attack where it's like all the smoke and you can't see anything, and it's kind of like that scene just goes on and on and on.
Nakajima, you can see he's kind of lost at one point.
Yeah, he's just knocking down buildings.
Chris Wilson asked, do we have any idea why we haven't seen Destroya in another film? I'd love to see a modern version of him.
I really thought that they were gonna have Destroya in Godzilla vs. Kong, because it felt like that would be like the natural. If that's the last movie in that series, you'd think like he'd be the end game kind of,
right?
Instead of Mecha Godzilla, which I can understand why they would do Mecha Godzilla, because they want to have like the big five in there. But
you'd have to change his origin too.
Yeah,
because he's tied to the oxygen destroyer. And in King of the Monsters, I mean, they use it, but you'd have to sort of retcon him a little bit to bring him to update him.
Oh well, I mean, they did it with Godzilla too, though. Like everyone kind of had a little bit of a retcon. Well, I mean, like Ghidorah kind of stayed the same,
right?
Space monster, but yeah, I mean, like they would, but I mean, that's not uncommon with Godzilla. They're always doing that, always changing the mythos a bit.
Right.
Yeah. I heard the real reason we haven't seen Destroyer is because he left the Church of Scientology. Fortunately, he kind of burned his contacts for now.
Yeah,
you might see him on that A&E show at some point. You might get a special
with Leah Remini.
Yeah, that one.
Yeah. Oh, I have another pick for underrated. Hidora, I think, is very underrated with a lot of people.
Yeah,
absolutely. Watched that the other day.
Yeah.
That's the class of entertainment that movie is.
Yeah.
It's out there.
Yeah, I've always said, like, people who kind of shit on it, I say, like, you can't look at it as like a Godzilla movie.
No.
It's a piece of outsider art. You know, it's like I kind of want to say The Room, but like not for the same reasons. Like you're kind of like you're really in Bano's head with that movie, and it kind of like I know they used to show it at the UCLA, like they used to do like midnight screenings of it. Like one of the production designers I've worked with at the day job, he told me like him and his wife used to get like baked out of their skulls in art school. You know, and like, yeah, I don't remember a thing about the movie, but I remember we enjoyed it. I wonder why the Keeloks didn't go to a planet with a hotter climate. I don't know, David. I don't know.
Like Mercury, right? They should have just went to Mercury.
Yeah. I think because it rains acid all the time on Mercury. I think that, or maybe I think it's constantly, that's a thing. NASA thinks like it's constantly raining acid. So.
Yeah. But in the 60s, they didn't know that. You know, they could have just said, they could have just done anything in the 60s.
Yeah. Make shit up. I love him visually. I'd love to see a rewrite. You never know. Toho's been kind of, they kind of have an aversion to bringing back any of the Heisei monsters. The original, you know, like Biollante, Destroyer, Space Godzilla. They come back in like video games and merchandise, but not so much in any kind that's like a canon narrative, so to speak.
Yeah.
Yeah. But you got to wonder though, if the monster, like let's say if King of the Monsters made $1 billion, right?
Which it should have. Yeah.
Of course. Yeah. Right. So
Alex, that timeline where that happened.
So like let's say they made $1 billion and it becomes like the next Marvel Cinematic Universe, right? Where they have 17 plus films. I could pretty much guarantee they'd start bringing in the Heisei monsters.
Sure.
Yeah.
For that. They know who their cash cow are, like the cash cow monsters are. You know, so they're gonna lead with that first. And it's kind of like when Marvel was like, okay, what can we do that's different? Let's test the waters with Guardians of the Galaxy. And they tested correctly.
Right.
And then I think you'd see like Destroyer and Batra and Space Godzilla and those monsters. And who knows, like Space Godzilla or Destroyer could have been like a Thanos. They could have built up to that over the course of like 12 movies or whatever.
Yeah.
Why Jordan's asking why the aversion. I just wonder if they, like John said, they know the ones they're comfortable with that they know are guaranteed, you know, sellers like Mothra and King Ghidorah.
Yeah.
I don't want any more movies with Mothra. I love Mothra, but please stop. Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
I don't think like even you know, they pull out like a jobber like Gigon. You know, a lot of times when like merch, he's for some reason he's like a go-to figure whenever like a line of figures come out, which is funny because people used to make fun of that monster because it's, you know, it's a one-eyed space chicken.
He was always my favorite.
I think it's a great design, but you know, people talked about him coming back in like the fan theories about him coming back in like the Heisei era, and like that didn't happen. You know, they held him off till Final Wars. So, but yeah. Did we miss any other questions? Which era had the cooler monsters, the 60s or the 70s?
That's hard, man.
Ooh, that's a tough one.
That is tough.
I think the 70s had the more imaginative monsters. I think the 60s were more like, you know, mutated insects and dinosaurs. And then the 70s was like robot space chicken and, you know, giant, you know, sentient size changing humanoid robots. And dog monster and seahorse looking monster with a fan tail.
I'm kind of torn because I agree with you, John, but I think I almost want to say 60s just for Ghidorah alone, just because I mean, like, okay, it's a gold 3-headed dragon, but like that suit and like that special effect like itself, like I think is a fucking marvel. Like that thing is still super fucking cool. When you see it, like especially when in the Ghidorah movie, like when you have like Ghidorah, like all of them are on screen together, like that's nuts, man. Like how many people are like up on like those rafters like operating that, you know, like it's
17 I think I heard
something like that. Yeah. It's nuts, man. Like I don't know, I think Ghidorah is like one of those things, like when people will scoff at these movies, you know, with the cardboard buildings and all that shit, but like I feel like Ghidorah is like the one where people would be like, all right, that one's pretty cool. That and Biollante.
Biollante,
those
yeah.
are super impressive.
Well, why don't we do like what's everybody's favorite kaiju design? If you had to pick like one.
Godzilla, done.
How original. Oh, enemy kaiju. Godzilla's enemy kaiju. Who wants to go first? Alex?
Oh, go down there. Oh, mine's Gigan. Easy.
72 or 2004?
72.
72. What about you, Michael?
Are we picking like just a straight character, all designs, or one specific one?
One specific design out of all the characters.
Probably like the 70s Mechagodzilla.
Okay.
Yeah. I remember. I always make fun of the 90s one now, the Heisei one. I always say it looks like a Taurus SHO.
Yeah, it does.
Sedan that's been souped up.
Yeah.
But I remember when it came out, I was like, oh yeah, man, this is like the best Mechagodzilla could ever look. And then I remember thinking like, oh, the 70s one, like it's got bolts sticking out.
Yeah.
Like that's stupid. Who would want that? Now, like an amazing design now, and you can tell it works because like the Kiryu design just echoes it so much.
Yeah.
Like with the points, all the pointy, all the sharp edges to it. So that's what I'll.
Which one though? The 74 or 75?
Yes.
74?
Yes. Yes. Mechagodzilla. Nick, what's yours?
Yeah, I don't know. It's a tough call. It's either got to be the 64 Ghidorah or Gigan. I think both of those designs are just so unique and iconic, and just like when John and I had our Instagram live stream, we were talking about kaiju designs, and like the Japanese designs have like a very distinct look to it, and I could not see those two characters coming out from any other country's film studio other than Japan. Like they have a very distinctive Japanese look to them that I don't think any other movie studio either would have had the creativity to come up with it or the nerve to actually make it and put it on screen.
Right. Well, that's what we said about Baragon. Do you remember that conversation?
Absolutely. Like you look at Baragon, like he's goofy looking. Yeah. And I can imagine if that was an American film at that time and some artist being like, oh, here's a concept for your fierce dinosaur monster. You're like, it looks like a French bulldog. What the hell is this? They have like, it's such a cool, unique look. And it has that like foo dog face to them.
Yeah.
And the ridiculous ears. Like it's absurd. But once it's all come together and the way they executed it, it's such an iconic, great standalone design.
No, I fucking love that they did that too. It's like, yeah, he's a dinosaur. Really? With those ears and the horn? Yeah, he's just a dinosaur. Like I love it.
It gives him so much personality too.
Yeah.
Yes.
Ears pop up and stuff like.
Yeah.
Well, I saw it was the design of Baragon, and the way they showed his ears was that when he's digging underground, the ears cover his face.
Yeah, I
the
saw that.
horn sticks out, so it sort of like protects his face.
Yeah.
It's like that's why there's like the scoop marks.
That's why,
that they like wrap around the horn.
Yeah, it was cool, but they never show that in the movie, so you're just like, why does it have this big ears? But it's supposed to like close and block his face as like a visor.
Yeah, Titanosaurus is another one. I think John and I have talked about this. Like that's a great monster.
Yeah.
That's my pick. That's my favorite one.
Yeah. Apparently it's a female, according to the king of kaijus who goes to Japan frequently. I do not subscribe to this idea, by the way, because apparently the argument I've heard is that because it has childbearing tips.
So does Godzilla.
Yeah.
Good point.
But Leslie also said Baron is a cool design. Sure.
I love him, but like I don't think he's like super unique. But I love the movie too, but I don't know. I mean, there's nothing like special about it, but for some reason I dig Varan. I don't know.
Also, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say the 56 Rodan is incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the best he's ever looked. Well, besides King of the Monsters,
Yeah.
I think like before, like they never topped that. Like since then.
No,
Like,
the 57 Rodan was really good too.
Oh, yeah,
Sorry.
Mike, do you have a 57 Rodan figure by chance?
Yeah. Let me pull it out of my ass for you.
No, I think because for some reason I never really liked the Heisei Rodan. Like I'd even take the Final Wars Rodan over the Heisei one.
Yeah.
For some reason.
I'm not crazy about a lot of the Heisei redesigns. I think that the newer kaiju look much better than the redesigned kaiju in the Heisei era.
Yeah. I think Ghidorah looked pretty good, but I don't know. Like to me, like Mothra always looked like a pinata. Like she always looked like really weird. Looking.
I felt the same way
with
Ghidorah 91. Like you see it fly, and it's like the wing, the necks and the tails are like in a permanent wave.
Yeah.
That's the problem with
it's movement.
Yeah, with that series, like they just like they're so lifeless when they move, like any kind of flying creature, and like they all fucking fly.
Yeah,
and it's so I don't know.
It's funny, like they would have Ghidorah, right? They'd spend all this time and money operating the necks, operating the tail, the wings, right? When it's on the ground, and they put all this time and energy into it with the heads bobbing, but when it flies, it's just like
yeah, and then you compare that to what was done in 64 and 65 with that smaller model, like that still looks amazing to this day. That's still
Well, the best Mothra, I think, on film, the way it was portrayed, besides like King of the Monsters, but because of CGI, was the 64. The way she moves in that movie.
I don't know. The SOS Mothra is.
I was gonna say, yeah,
that one's pretty good, and the GMK Mothra moves pretty good too.
Chris, she mentioned Pulgasari in the chat while you guys were arguing about Mothra. So there we go. So my Kim Jong-un joke when nobody was watching is
it's alive and well.
So
that's a fucking crazy story, man. Like the whole story behind that. Like I want to do a video on that because like that doesn't sound real. Like it sounds like a South Park episode or something.
Wasn't there a rumor going around that somebody was going to make like a movie based on that? Because there was like a book written about it.
A
movie on that book.
Yeah.
I remember reading, I don't know if it was like somebody joking around, but like I remember reading like, yeah, they made a movie, but by the time Hollywood was done with it, it became Beautician and the Beast. Like everything about it, basically. But yeah, like Satsuma is the monster in it and stuff. Like they didn't know where they were going or what they were working on until like their feet were on the ground in North Korea. Like it was just bonkers. It's just like such a crazy. The movie's terrible. The movie.
Yeah. I was about to say, who here has actually seen it?
I've never seen it.
It's I watched it on like on YouTube.
Yeah.
10 years ago, something like that. It was on here. It's considered like public domain in the US, basically.
Yeah, because like I think like Amazon direct, like they were selling it directly, I think at one point, and like the cover was like the worst like clip art, like fucking shitty cover with like this like default like flame background and like Comic Sans font, and it was ridiculous. But I think Amazon was selling it, like which is weird to me.
Yeah.
It was not good.
No. It's basically one of the Daimajin movies. Like that's
but not good because those movies are good.
Yeah. Those movies are very good.
Yeah. Like it's same like oppressed villagers, summon this monster and it it starts eating all their swords and stuff. It's really
what?
Yeah. Yeah. You should go and watch it. So
or don't.
Yeah,
I'll watch it. I'm sure I've seen worse movies than Pulgasari.
I don't think any Japanese guests will want to travel here this year at all. Am I right?
Yeah.
I don't think they can travel here.
No, they can't.
Yeah. It'll be JD and Bob Eggleton as a special guest.
No, and the caterer from King of the Monsters.
That's right. Yeah, the caterer.
Oh, he's gonna be there? Oh
yeah,
shit.
he's gonna be there.
I'm going.
From Motion Picture Caterers INC. They'll be there.
You better hope you don't have to do work for that man. It's actually a producer from King of the Monsters, and John's been calling him a caterer for a couple months now.
I know.
Yeah, you better hope you don't have to paint a set for that man.
I do not understand the hatred towards that movie. That is a wonderful, beautiful movie.
Did you watch the live stream?
With Dougherty.
Yeah, did you watch that, Alex?
Oh, the watch along?
Yeah.
No.
I'm surprised. I thought you'd be all over that.
I was so this is gonna make me sound super irresponsible, but I went to a friend's house. We were being safe about it. There's only 3 of us and we were spaced out, and like they work from home, so it's fine. We're being safe. But I did want to watch it afterwards though, because I don't know, man. Like I just fucking Mike Doherty. Like everyone's like, oh, he's just trying to pander, but like the dude really legitimately seems like he loves Godzilla. So I don't know.
Well, he was dropping like tidbits and info about the whole series and like the original Mothra, and
yeah,
I don't doubt that he's a fan. And it's funny because our mutual friend Lenny Romero knows I don't like the movie. So he was like, you should go on there and you should blast that movie to Mike Dougherty. I'm like, yeah, sure. Yeah, I'll go do that. But I'm not. So I ended up watching it. And then me and Lenny were just sort of commenting the whole time. And then I just started posting pictures of my art. So he would say like,
John spammed the whole thing with his
yeah, I got a lot of followers from it. And Michael Dougherty actually liked my Space Godzilla, which is really funny.
What a whore.
Yeah. So I was like, he posted something about Mothra, and I'm like, I agree. Mothra's awesome. That's why I did this artwork. And I posted it. And then I would say, like, I love Mechagodzilla. He's one of the fiercest combatants ever. Therefore, I did a poster. And then I would just constantly do it over and over.
I definitely texted John at one point. I was like, I hate you and Lenny.
Yeah, it was funny. It was really funny.
Adam Wingard is a hack, so let's get ready for a complete piece of trash with the news.
Do we want to talk about those spoilers for Godzilla vs. Kong, or do we want to not say anything?
Are there spoilers?
Well, we kind of just gave one away before.
What was
We
the
did?
other? We did?
Alex, you mentioned Mechagodzilla.
Oh shit! Yeah, my bad. Oops.
Yeah, and that's a little bit of red armor or something.
Yeah.
Oh,
that might just be a toy thing though.
Mega Godzilla?
Kong has like a pickaxe or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's getting very Kong with the shotgun territory.
If only. If
I know.
only.
Alex, do you know what Kong with a shotgun is?
Mm-mm.
So, do you know a fellow artist named Bill Couture?
No.
He's fantastic. He's like one of me and Nick's like favorite artists.
Do you remember the guy that brought like he took my mascot, the Vampire Robots mascot, and he did like that Apocalypse Now print? Do you remember when I had those at the table last year? I was giving them out to people.
Oh yeah.
Print. It was black with like the VR mascot coming out of black.
Yeah.
That's Bill Couture's art. He did that. That was
So Bill is like the Jack Kirby of Godzilla artists. That guy just
Really? How do you spell?
huh?
How do you spell his last name?
I think it's Couture. He's fantastic, and he just comes up. He works at an airport, so he just spends his whole day drawing, and he has all these.
Oh, this guy. Yeah.
So he did this drawing of like the MonsterVerse, like he's doing this MonsterVerse narrative in his head, but he's drawing it.
Yeah.
So he has this idea of Kong is humanity's weapon against Godzilla who takes over the planet. Now, Nick, you could correct me if I'm wrong, because Bill's ideas are just like, they just go.
It was such an insane like backstory he came up with. Was Bill having a fever dream while he had malaria or something? Like, what the hell? Where did he come up with this?
He might have had the coronavirus before it was established in the States.
Is he a superhero?
It was great, but it was just like there's something wrong with this dude.
So he does this concept where humanity turns to Kong. They drug him with the berries from what's the island he's from? Faroe Island. So they control him with these berries, and he becomes like mentally unstable. But they give him a giant shotgun to hunt Godzilla. And he has the skull crawlers on chains like they're dogs of war. And it's Kong with like a giant shotgun. And so I was like, Bill, it was one day I was home after my surgery, and I was like, Bill, this is amazing. I said, let's start something called Kong with the Shotgun. And Bill was like, oh my God, let's do that. So we started a hashtag. And then me and Larry Quatch, Lenny, Nick, I think you did something. We all started contributing Kong with the Shotgun artwork.
Yeah.
And it blew up. Like I got all these followers from it. And some guy on YouTube got wind of it and made like a video with all of our artwork. And it just became like this absurd thing. And like Kong becomes psychotic because he's so unstable from all the berry juice. And he's like, humanity's turning to this mentally impaired ape with a shotgun or something. And it's bananas. So when I see this stuff from Godzilla vs. Kong, I'm like, this is like something Bill would come up with.
It's not as good as like now that's what I want. I don't want the movie we're actually going to get now.
No, go on his Instagram because he posts like a breakdown of the timeline and the history, and there's like Kong and a cult for Godzilla. Like read that shit. It is so good.
I feel bad because like I actually do follow him on here, and I just completely forgot.
Yeah, he wrote like basically like a 5-season Bible. Like it was. I was texting like John and Nick. I was just like this guy's out of his fucking gourd. Like what? And they're like, it's amazing. And I'm glad he's doing this and he's not like wandering the streets.
I tell you, it's better than anything I've ever watched from Godzilla in the last like 30 years.
Yeah.
Because he takes the concepts and he's not beholden to the canon. You know, like Toho, for example, Mike already said that in King of the Monsters, when Mothra comes out of the cocoon, she was supposed to kill those soldiers. Yeah. And he said Toho nixed that. So he's like, Toho didn't want her to kill anyone. And they said that when Godzilla kills Ghidorah at the end,
that was their idea to have him like barbecue.
He wanted Godzilla to eat Ghidorah like an animal or something. So Toho was like, no, he doesn't do that. So Bill just takes the ideas and is just like, fuck Toho, I'm doing what I want. And it's amazing like what he can come up with.
Yeah.
He basically made like Godzilla Fury Road is basically his concept.
There's a whole like Kong like fails at some point and falls in like a hyperbaric chamber or something, because then like there's like a time jump and it jumps like 5 or 50 years or something in the future, and the world's just ruled by kaiju.
Yeah.
Kong's like really old now, but he still has a shotgun. Kind of settled the score. It was so out there. Do you remember that Batman concept he was telling us at like dinner at G-Fest the one year?
Where Batman's like slowly going crazy or something?
Yeah, like Batman's finally going off the deep end, and he's got like 3 bats that like but they all have like all the Robins are finally dead now, and like they're all the dead Robins, and they're just like they're talking to him. He's the only one that can see him. And they're like, hey, Batman, you had to sacrifice us to continue your holy crusade on crime. And I just remember like this was like the first time I met Bill, and I'm like sitting there eating a burrito while he's telling me this, and I'm like looking at John like who the fuck is this? Like who guy?
Nick, what is that? I love that story you say, or that idea you have where they just need to like put Bill in like an office somewhere, right? In the back of a building with like one window facing high tension wires or something. Do you remember that? And you said just let him create stuff in this office all day.
Yeah. I mean, I don't remember saying that, but that definitely sounds like something I would say, because they should really just have him as like, he's your well to go to. Just have him alone writing up shit. And every week you check in on him, pull his new stuff.
He's your like a scenarist, like in the old time Hollywood. Like you just get concepts from him constantly.
Yeah. Right.
So not to switch gears here, but Leslie's asking, what do we think of the recent Monstrosities video and people's reaction to it? Boy, I hope they're still not with us.
I thought he had a good point, because I don't know, man. You know what? Like, it's because people like immediately they get like super like uptight about that. It's like, oh, he's being gatekeepy. He's being, you know, and I'm not just saying that because he's a friend, but I think somebody needs to speak up, because, you know, like I was telling him like directly, like it got to a point like when it comes to to special features on stuff for this, like I don't even fucking give a shit anymore. I'm just like trained to not care because it's been such shit, you know. And like that specific, like what kind of like kicked that off, like that Toku Shotsu or whatever, Toku shit show thing that they had going on, was like, that was embarrassing, man, because it's like you're representing like a brand. Like that's, you add like, it's a whole different dynamic when it's like on like that kind of platform, because I think it was on TV, right? It's like a TV thing.
It's on Pluto TV, like a streaming TV service. Like it has.
Okay, but that's the thing too. Like it kind of like it puts it at a point where it's not just your run of the mill like YouTube. You know, you're YouTuber, like, you know, making like a video about it, you know, and stuff. It's on this platform where you expect to have like a little more credence, you know.
Yeah.
And so when you have like people on there that maybe, you know, like I saw a Twitter post where somebody, I think it was maybe pertaining to this specifically, but they were like, we need to start normalizing people like just admitting and just being flat out honest and saying, yeah, I don't know enough about this to talk about it, so I won't, you know, because that was pretty like, that was pretty embarrassing, man. Like it doesn't reflect well on that company too, you know, like these are the people you choose to like represent that.
Yeah.
And you know, like these companies, like they work with, it's not just like the tokusatsu stuff, but like, you know, it's these companies, they'll go after like the you know, big names within like the fandom and stuff like that. And a lot of times like these people probably aren't qualified, you know, like I'm not, you know, not trying to sound arrogant. I'm not saying I would be, you know, but like, it's just like I don't know, they find the people that will pull in the numbers, and the content suffers for that, you know.
Well, it becomes like look at Godzilla fandom in this country as a whole, right? Like,
yeah,
just look at it.
Just look at all of you sexy sons of bitches.
I don't want
to. It was never taken seriously, right? Because the way they were dubbed, the Americanization of the movies, the way it was portrayed in pop culture at the time, and the Godzilla movies themselves towards the end didn't really help themselves. So that we always had a stigma against us starting off. And you have legitimate scholars of this stuff like August Ragoni, who spent, you know, the entire season of Ultraman Gaia on set. You have Norman England, who wore the GMK suit, who's worked for Toho, worked on films. Steve Rifle, who wrote the Honda book. Like, you have legitimate sources. And I credit Jeff Gomez of Starlight Runner a lot, because he went to August when they got the Ultraman IP over here, and he's had August writing the Ultraman Bible. But
right.
That's who you go to when you want to bring this stuff over. You go to those guys. You don't go to the guy with 20,000 Instagram followers who, you know, kind of knows some stuff and isn't really qualified. Okay, maybe he's been to Japan, but he's never been on set for these movies. He's never written any books on the stuff.
Yeah.
I'm not naming anyone in particular. I'm just saying in general, to sort of go with your go along with your point there, is that these people exist. And now, like, Godzilla, for all intents and purposes, has a greater awareness in our world now than he ever did because of this movie, because nothing has a greater reach than Hollywood, sadly.
Yeah.
Besides the U.S. military. And ironically, our two biggest exports are ammunition and movies. So I'm going to be working till the day I die. But anyway. Huh?
I'm kidding. Anyway.
So you have legitimate sources to go to for this stuff, and they're just going for like these kids that don't really know what this stuff is.
Yeah.
And it's it's just harmful for the brand itself, I think. Like, look at the way Disney runs itself, or look at the way the New York Yankees conducts themselves. They take their shit very, very seriously, right?
Right.
Like, the Yankees have you believing that it's all pride and pinstripes and destiny and aura, because that's how they market themselves. And they're very strict about that. You know, Yankee players can't have facial hair. They have to have haircuts. Like, they're very into their image. And like Tokusatsu, again, it's so poorly presented here.
Wait, is that true? Is that true? The Yankees aren't allowed to have like beards?
Yeah.
Didn't know that.
Yeah. When Johnny Damon came over from the Red Sox, remember the Idiots?
Yeah.
He had the long hair, he had the beard. He had to shave it off right away. Same thing with Jason Giambi too.
Anyway.
But the point is that Disney, like, they care about their brand so much. So I can't imagine being Toei or Tsuburaya or Toho and like seeing the way their IP is getting presented over here. You know, like I would have a hard time with it if it's like, wow, who are these kids? Like I want the best in the business.
Yeah.
You know, like if you go get surgery or something, you don't go to like the cheapest surgeon you could find, right?
You don't go to a surgical enthusiast. You go that's an actual expert that's done it.
Yeah. So that's kind of my take on it. It's like you go to who's qualified to do it, not who you think should do it.
I found it kind of funny that video kind of came out. The Monstrosities video kind of came out as a response to Tokusatsu, you know, and obviously Tokusatsu, their video is a greater symptom, right? Is an example of, you know, just a bigger problem in the fandom.
Yeah.
But they, like, almost as a response, this week, like Friday, they had the Kaiju King like on their show to do like a Q&A like this, like a live thing, and it was just like,
wait, who?
The Tokusatsu had the Gamera cover artist from Arrow.
Oh, the Kaiju King.
Friday, yeah, you know, the Kaiju King. Like, because they specifically reference the Shin Godzilla thing that he did.
Yeah.
For Funimation. Which, you know, whether you like that movie or hate it, like that's like such a nonsensical thing to put out there. And like these guys, like they almost like as like a fuck you to their critics, you know. So obviously they're in some kind of dialogue there, but it was just like, I was just like, wow, that, you know, I respect the balls to just you know, go to one of the people they reference and immediately put him on the air. So
yeah.
What was the Shin Godzilla thing? Because I never bought it, so I don't even know what he did for it.
It was I watched maybe 5 minutes of it and immediately was like, no. It was Kaiju King himself, and like they were like sitting at like a table or something. Like there was like an intern from Funimation, and weren't they just like shooting the shit basically about
pretty much that, with like some dollies on the table and
some dollies,
and him doing his nerd reaction face, showing the Funimation interns his O face.
Nice. That would make for a really good YouTube thumbnail if they ever like put that, just isolate that special feature for YouTube.
Yeah,
that sucks.
That's a shame. You know what's funny is that like if they did their research, they could have got do you guys know Yoko Higuchi? He's a filmmaker based out over here in New York. Yeah. He's a young guy. He's like 25, really nice guy. I met him at New York Comic Con, but he started as a PA on Shin Godzilla.
Right.
And that guy, I think, would have been really good to get involved in a Q&A because he was boots on the ground. He was there.
Right. Ask him how many double days they did and stuff.
Yeah, just you could ask him all these questions, or just spend the money and get Higuchi. I'm sure Higuchi would have loved to talk about Shin Godzilla or somebody on the production.
Get Higuchi to make a 3-hour presentation about his career, and then get him to do it in 45 minutes.
But do you think that Toho would like nick something like that? Because it almost seems like they're trying to like self-sabotage here sometimes, because like they even with stuff like when they put out that when I think it was Media Blasters that put out Megalon and Destroy All Monsters, and there were a couple special features that they had to pull those discs because Toho's like, no, you can't have that, you can't do that,
right?
You know, and it was like some like basic thing. I think it was like a commentary or something. It was just something super like,
yeah, there was the audio commentary from Megalon that like wasn't approved by Toho, or like they didn't get to finalize it or something.
Yeah.
And the one for Destroy All Monsters, which luckily I have this copy, has the AIP dub, like the original American dub for it.
Yeah.
Which is amazing. And like,
yeah,
the fact that they're like, nope, get that out of here.
Yeah. Yeah, they're kind of shicey.
Was that like Media Blaster's still like there's no way to tell like you just have to buy the disc and it's like
Yeah.
but Media Blasters was like, well, some of that stuff got out into the wild by accident, so they might be out there, you know. So even when they reissued them for like Walmart in 20, like that's when I eventually bought them. Was when the 2014 movie came out.
Yeah, same here.
I might find these out. People were still finding it and being like, these features are still on. They're not supposed to be, but this stuff's still on here.
Yeah. And I was actually talking to Matt, the guy that runs Monstrosities, and we were saying like how, you know, there's like a secretive aspect where like they want to like, you know, they don't want to like really show off like, you know, how they do shit, but like it seems like that's everywhere outside of Japan, because like that the Shin Godzilla Blu-ray over there like is like chock full of special features. Like they show like the animatronic, I think, and stuff like that.
Oh wow.
And like and all this like cool stuff, but like over here it's always super bare bones, and I don't get it. It's like they don't want us to know how they make, you know, movies over there or something.
Well, I remember even like the DVD of Final Wars has like the second disc has like this crazy like 3.5 hour, you know, retrospective documentary on all the movies up to that point.
Yeah.
And I had always said like Criterion, this is before Criterion did the first Godzilla disc. I should try to like license that special, because they'll do that. They'll just buy special features from an overseas edition of something else.
Yeah.
And put it on the Criterion edition. And I always said they should get that. Like that would be like a killer special feature, you know, to
for sure
throw on there. But Toho's just super stingy with that stuff. It's strange.
Yeah, do you think that might be the reason why, like Tokushoutsu or whatever, why they use just like these self-proclaimed authorities, just because like, oh, here's some fanboy who will do this for free.
Yeah,
we don't maybe. I think that's probably like the biggest draw of just like, oh, there's a $0 amount here, so let's just use that.
You can't be free. Yeah.
Yeah.
How crazy batshit do we think Shin Ultraman is going to be?
I don't think it's going to be crazy.
Yeah, I don't know what to expect from that, honestly.
Me neither.
I think Anno has such a love for Ultraman that I think he's such a traditionalist that it'll be in line with the original series or Return of Ultraman more.
Yeah.
But I know, I think I was talking to August about it, and it sounds like Subaraya are pretty serious about keeping it, you know, on the rails, so to speak, as opposed to letting it just be like, you know, Shin Ultraman has 4 forms and he starts as a tadpole and he gets bigger and spits up blood. You know, they're not going to,
right.
You know, I think that they're making I think Subaraya, now that the child thing is behind them, is making a much bigger push, which I love because I love Ultraman.
Yeah.
And I think they want to keep that brand pretty straightforward from here on out. I think they want to, you know, that's their Superman, so they want to keep it as traditional as they can be.
Yeah.
No ultra cute crucifixes then. I don't know. That's been in the series since what? Ace? Is that where that starts? Where the one bad guy's crucifying all the Ultra brothers or something?
No, 7. Remember at the end of 7 with Guts? He crucifies 7.
Does he? Okay.
Yeah. But he crucifies him, and then the TDF has to like save him. But that was like towards the end of the series.
Okay.
Yeah.
In a while.
Yeah.
But any other questions, concerns, comments from all 9 people watching? I'm sorry, 10. The one thing we didn't talk about, this is kind of take such a hard left turn. We never did talk about Alien Day.
Oh yeah, I was gonna bring that up.
Which is today.
It is today.
For all the kaiju fans watching today.
Yeah.
Hey, at least it's got guys in rubber monster suits.
It's true. It's true.
My entire opinion of the Alien series starts and ends with Aliens. For me personally.
I was gonna say actually, like I feel like Alien and Aliens are like those are like the only movies where they're always neck and neck for me. Like I literally cannot decide. It'll depend on like the day, honestly, like which one I'll say I prefer. Right now it's Alien, but like fucking next week I could say Aliens. You know, it's really like I don't have that with anything else where it's so neck and neck.
Yeah.
Not Gamera 2 or 3.
I actually like Gamera 1 the most.
Wow, really? That's a first.
Yeah.
Yeah, I rewatched Guardian of the Universe like not long before G Fest last year, and I'd kind of forgotten how good a movie.
Yeah, I don't know why that one's the favorite for me, but I really dig that.
Yeah, for what you can kind of see the seams, but like you can appreciate it. You're like, wow, they're getting away with a lot for how little money they obviously.
Oh yeah.
But
good alien talk, guys.
Yeah. We're right back to Kaiju.
I was curious, like, do you guys remember when and where, like, your first experience with, like, or any kind of memorable experience with any of the Alien movies, like how you first kind of caught them?
On channel, I think it was on regular TV when I was growing up. I was always a Predator guy.
Yeah.
So Aliens came later, and I didn't see the full Aliens movie until I want to say like the early 2000s, late 90s, early 2000s. And even then, when I first saw it, it was the DVD one with the extended scenes. I don't know if you guys ever saw that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was the first time I've ever seen it. And I was like, I was blown away. I was like, wow, every sci-fi movie after this has stolen so much from this movie. Yeah. So that's really my experience. But again, I was more of a Predator guy than Aliens.
Isn't Janine a big Alien nerd though?
Yes, my wife Janine is a huge Aliens. Like her favorite movie, like our first date. I said, "Oh, so what's your favorite movie?" She said, "Aliens." I said, "Oh my God, we're getting married. We have to get married."
You're like Robert, you held up the ring. Like, I got this first date.
Yeah, first date, I gave her the ring. No, but that's her. She loves Aliens, Predator. There was something else. I put on Metallica the other day, For Whom the Bell Tolls. And when he starts the line, Time Marches On, she turns to me and she sings it along with them. And I was like, how do you know this song? And she's like, I grew up with two brothers. I said, oh, yeah, okay. And I forgot they liked heavy metal music. So yeah, Janine has like the quadrilogy set or whatever it's called, the four films, the box set.
That's one of the best box sets, I think.
Yeah, we have that. So
that great digipack that you need like an 8-foot table. So like if you want to watch it, great. You got to like unspool the whole thing on the dinner table.
Wait, which one is that?
The quadrilogy set.
Is that what it is?
Yeah, but that's the DVD set, because the Blu-ray set, everything's like much more condensed, and I think it's like a litlittle book with like sleeves.
No, I the DVDs. Those movies are on cable like every day. So
yeah.
It again at this point, like
hold on.
But yeah. Oh.
What about you, Nick? How did you
I honestly think my earliest memory of being introduced to them, it was like, I don't know, I was 9 or something. It's like Christmas break, so you're home from school for like a week and a half, and it was like USA Up All Night was playing Alien or some shit like that, and it's just like, oh boy, a monster movie. And I watched it, it's like, holy crap, this is a monster movie.
Yeah.
And you're just like changed afterwards. And then shortly after, my dad's like, oh, you saw Alien, that's great, but the sequel's cool. And got into the rest of those. I still remember seeing Alien Resurrection in theaters. That was like the only of the Alien films that I saw in a theater. Everything else was like cable or Blockbuster or some junk like that. But yeah, I think it was USA Up All Night was my intro to Alien and all the wonders.
We're all the science is still out on Nick Shev, but we should all be under 50. So, Chris,
hey, what?
What's that?
Who's I think John, you're the oldest, right?
I'm 40. Yeah.
Yeah. John's the oldest.
That still blows my mind. You do not look 40.
Hey, thanks.
Yeah, dude.
Well, I don't smoke or drink, so that might have something to do with it.
There you go.
Yeah. My first experience with the Alien series was I saw the original on CBS in Arizona in a Motel 6. We were on vacation, my parents and I. and we were staying there on our way into Vegas. So there you go. That's my first.
That's great, Mike.
Wow, that's something. It's great.
There you go. James Hannon thought you were younger than him, John.
How old is James? How old are you?
He's 34.
He's 34?
He's 34.
Wow.
I mean, I've never seen James in person, even though he's in Jersey. So
No, didn't we see him at
never seen him.
Are you sure? Am I getting mixed up with someone else? At Schiller Theater, I came out to see you, and I could have sworn he came to the table.
Cousin John.
No, because I brought up No. What was the one that Megumi Odaka was at? Was that Monster Mania?
Yeah. You did not meet me at Chiller. I've never met you, James. Never.
James? Are you sure? Let me look him up. James Hannon. Because I sold him a Biolante print at one of those shows.
If he was there, I legit don't remember meeting you because I've always thought like we've never met.
Yeah, I met James. I met him in person. I met this guy. Oh, look, he's singing in a metal band. Can you see that?
Yeah. Never.
Yeah, you never saw that guy?
Nope.
Wow.
Never.
Yeah, James, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure I met you at I want to say Monster Mania or something because I remember bringing you a Biolante print or something along those lines.
Oh, come on, man. He's underselling himself. He's like, I'm not memorable. It's cool.
I swear, because I talked to James as much as I talked to you guys, like on Facebook.
Yeah.
And he, there was always like, oh, I might be a Chiller. And then he, the Monday after Chiller, he's like, sorry, I didn't get the Chiller. And I'd be like, whatever. Yeah, it's Chiller. Who gives a shit? So,
yeah, he said he bought a Final Wars Godzilla from you.
No, never happened. Never happened.
I was gonna say, bringing it back to the alien talk, I fucking hate when like sets do this shit. Where it's like
that's the Blu-ray set, right?
Yeah, like the fucking like cardboard bullshit. Like I hate it's like fucking encased in like fucking cardboard. You gotta like handle. You gotta like fucking the Criterion Showa set is the worst with that. Like I don't know how to get those out properly.
Oh no.
I think Alien was like, or Aliens, one of the two was like the first R-rated movie I ever watched, I think. So that's, I guess, some significance.
Actually, you know how I was first exposed to Alien?
Mm.
From that scene at the end of Spaceballs.
Oh, yeah.
I had no idea what it was, and then someone had to tell me what that was. I was like, that's from another movie? And that was my first experience with Alien, was Spaceballs.
That's great.
Yeah.
I think my dad showed me Aliens afterwards at some point. He's just like, this movie's not. I remember when Aliens came out, like I was way too young for that movie when it came out. Because I remember like seeing the promos. My mom was like, get out of the room. Like, you're not allowed to, I don't want to have to deal with your nightmares. But I remember there was some, like, I assume it would be the scene where Burke finally gets it, where the aliens kind of bathed in red light. Like I remember that as a kid, like seeing that in like a TV spot or something. But
Burke was Paul Reiser, right?
Yeah, the shitweasel lawyer.
Yeah.
But yeah, I didn't see it till much later. That was like one of those movies, like it's not gory, but like I wouldn't show it to like a little kid.
Yeah.
Same with like Jaws. I don't think I saw Jaws till I was like 10.
I was gonna say, like, I saw that when I was 4 years old, or 4 or 5. And
So-
like that, what?
So what? Jaws or
Jaws, yeah. And that was like from that moment, that like maybe I was just like a fucked up kid, but that was like my favorite movie from that moment. I got like super inspired by like I didn't know like it was based on a book, so I was like writing my own like book version of it.
Wait a minute.
And I was like 5 years old. Like I was obsessed because I love sharks growing up, so like I was super obsessed with that.
Yeah.
But I think like, and I wasn't like a lot of people like they even like talk about like Jurassic Park, like seeing that as a kid and like how that scared them like when they were younger. That movie, like there was nothing about that was scary to me. Like, I was just like enthralled with this shit. You know?
Yeah, same here.
Yeah.
I remember my cousin who's older than me saying Jurassic Park like scared the daylights out of her. But she's more like, she's more prone to that kind of stuff.
Gotcha.
So,
Yeah, I was one of those kids. Like I could watch. It could be like super gory, but as long as it was like a creature or a monster doing it, I was fine with that.
Yeah, me too.
Like I never thought it was scary. I just thought it was cool. But if it was like a slasher or something, I couldn't deal with that as a kid.
Yeah.
See, it's fucking weird because it's like Jaws didn't scare me, and like Jurassic Park and Aliens didn't scare me, but like, do you guys remember that Disney movie Pete's Dragon with like the animated, like the big stupid animated dragon?
Yeah.
There was a part in the beginning where like a bunch of like homeless people or something are like singing a song, and like that freaked me out when I was a kid. And like for some reason that got me, but like not anything else.
By the way, that happens in New York like every other day
They sing songs in Central Park.
on subways. Yeah.
Yeah.
You want to hear something funny? My mom, I guess they've been at home for like 5 weeks now. My mom, she doesn't leave the house because she's got health issues and she doesn't want to get this thing.
Yeah.
So last week I went over the house to see him. Distance, like we keep like 8 feet, 9 feet away from each other.
Yeah.
And she said, "Oh, I was watching Friday the 13th when he goes to the city." And I was like, "What?" I was like, "You hate Batman movies. You come into the room and you say, 'I fucking hate this shit.'" And I'm like, "And you're what?" She's like, "Yeah, I just get into these movies." I'm like, "Okay, Ma, that's weird." So yesterday I go over to see him again, and she's like, "I was watching that War for the Apes movie, the War for the Planet of the Apes." I'm like, "Okay." And she's like, did that monkey did the monkey kill those guys?" I was like, "What?" Because she's like, because I work in movies now, like she sees like the green screen, she can tell things are fake. And she's like, "I could tell that the waterfall in that movie was fake." I said, "What waterfall?" I was like, "Oh, in the beginning." She's like, "Yeah, did that monkey kill those guys?" And I said, "No, he lets them go as a sign of compassion." She's like, "I need to finish watching it." I'm like, "All right." I mean,
5 minutes. It's channel.
yeah, I'm happy she's watching the stuff that I like, but the Friday the 13th, I was just like, what the fuck?
I was gonna say those Apes movies, like the newer ones, like those are way better than they have any right to be. They're so good.
I love outside of Godzilla, I love the original Apes movies. I
Yeah.
love Star Trek, like for science fiction properties.
Mm-hmm.
And when they announced that first Rise of the Planet of the Apes, I was like, "Are you serious? Like, really?" And then by the end of that movie, I was all in. And then Dawn blew my mind. I was like,
me too.
blown away. And then War should not have been as good as it was. Like, it had every reason being like the third movie.
Yeah.
Third movies are never as good. It was
I think that's the best one.
Yeah, they pulled the Gamera 3, but Dawn is still my favorite. But they just, oh my God, I can't believe how good those movies were.
Yeah.
And Caesar, man, he was such a great character in that movie.
Oh, definitely. And fucking Andy Serkis he was perfect in that.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Now he's directing Venom 2.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Making his way up in the world.
Yeah, good for him. Well, he was directing Venom 2 until the shutdown.
They pushed it to. It was supposed to come out in like October.
Yeah, it's next year now, sometime next year.
Summer, apparently.
Yeah, Homecoming got pushed too.
Yeah.
That's got pushed to
John's homecoming at high school.
My homecoming. Because I look like I'm 18 or 17, so going to a homecoming. Dressed as Spider-Man, by the way. I just want to let you know that. This is Brooklyn.
So, any other things? Do we cover everything? Anything you guys want to talk about?
No, I should probably go soon.
Okay.
We're making margaritas tonight, so I want to get.
Oh boy.
Yeah. Our neighbor gave us this giant bottle of tequila when we first moved in. I mean, this thing is like the size of my head. And I'm not going to sit at home on a Friday night and just drink tequila because you make all your worst decisions on tequila. So being that we're in quarantine, me and Janine were like, let's just make margaritas and tacos. I was like, yeah, let's do that. So we're going to make margaritas and tacos.
That's a good night.
Yeah.
It's going to get real weird later. Let me tell you. I'll sign on, come on by myself wearing just my underpants and just talk into the camera that's not even on.
Just holding an empty tequila bottle.
Empty tequila bottle.
So, but any other questions before we kind of close things up in the chat room?
They don't give a fuck.
Is there anybody left?
Actually, I did have one question because I guess to like bring it back to like a conversation from like 2 hours ago now, but like when like X Plus put out these like new like pre-orders and shit, like is the release window, like anytime they do a pre-order, is the release window like the same? Does that mean they're gonna come out like around the same time, like same month? So is like that Iris, because like they put out like a Gamma 65, the Dope Pope Iris, a new Rodan.
Yeah.
Is that all the same time that's gonna come out?
Like because like the gigantic Mecha Godzilla showed up with some other stuff, but I think it's all the pre-orders go up at the same time, but I don't think the release dates are always like the same. Like I don't like they're all supposed to come out at Christmas or they're all supposed to come out.
Okay, because I was gonna say like they get so dumb with that sometimes. Where like I was telling you, Mike, how like one year, like last year, I think they had like, was it the 2019 gigantic and then like 3 other Godzilla figures? Because it's like I can understand that like if you put out like an Ultraman and like a Gamera and a Godzilla the same month, like there's definitely like people that like there's like a crossover there with like your demographic, but like you put out like 3 Godzillas, you're gonna want like people are gonna want like I don't know. I feel like you're just that's way too that's overkill at that point.
Yeah, they'll take like long breaks and then they'll just kind of come hard at the collectors and just in a whole quarter there'll be like 12 figures and they're like 2 gigantics and 10 standards or something, 10 30 centimeters or something. They do like they were doing it with Diamond too. People, there was 2 figures every month.
Yeah, that's kind of doable, I guess, because like that was no
for some people, like that's
like,
bonkers. Like, I had customers that were ordering one of everything, and I was like, "Are you sure you can handle this? Like, I'm not sure I can handle this. Like, you guys, okay? Like, I'll put you down for everything."
And like maybe I'm remembering wrong, but didn't all their gigantics come out at the same time? Like the 62, and then like maybe like 2 other ones, like maybe like the 2000.
There was they were in March of 2018. There was a bunch of figures that just went AWOL. It was 93 Mechagodzilla, 2 different Kiryus. This is reissue stuff. The 62, the 2000, and the GMK Gigantic. So it was 3 Gigantics, Mechagodzillas. And I remember saying to my rep at Diamond, I was like, do you know they're all supposed to ship the same date now? Like, did you see that updated shipping schedule yesterday? This is like Friday night it went up. And then I saw her like first thing Saturday morning. And she almost like dropped her clipboard. She's like, are you fucking kidding me? Her laughing. I was like, hey, you tell me, man, like you're the one who works at Diamond. Like, I don't know what to tell you. But they'll do that a lot. But then it'll be like, it's the same thing with like NECA. They announce a lot. And then the stuff, it all gets jammed up in the pipeline.
Yeah.
And either like some of it all comes at once or, none of it shows up. They have big gaps in releases. So,
yeah.
So, all right. Well, we're like over the 2.5 hour mark here. So I think we've done okay with this. I think this has been an okay stream.
It was only mildly awkward.
I think people will look at it and they'll go like, all right. Yeah. So that was my goal with this first.
Yeah, nothing offensive, nothing like no one noticed, and I'm not wearing pants, so that's great.
Yeah. So I'll get the Alex asked me to get.
Yeah, there it is.
There's me and my shitty Kong bank.
Oh my god.
Oh, that's awesome.
I'm gonna be the one that ends up buying that for sure.
Probably.
Yeah.
So, all right, guys. Well, we'll sign it off here. Thanks everybody for tuning in.
Bye, guys.
Yeah.
Take it easy, fellas.
Be safe, everyone.